potentially dangerous encounters, but policing experts have cautioned against using a handheld device in volatile situations. The Department of Homeland Security has not responded to questions about whether the officers on the scene were wearing.
So that video was from the Associated Press, which is, nonpartisan. We like to be careful where we get our information from. Okay, so there's a video. Yeah. So let's start with the basic facts, and then we'll get into the discussion of everyone's thoughts of kind of what happened. The facts are that Renee Good, a 37-year-old Minneapolis resident, was shot and killed by an ICE agent. I believe he's been identified as Jonathan Ross, if I've got that right, during a federal immigration enforcement operation. So she was not the target of that. She was, I believe, from Colorado, recently moved to Minneapolis with her wife and their children. The shooting occurred on January 7th in a residential area in South Minneapolis, just after 9:30 a.m. local time. It was captured, as we just saw, on video and witnessed by neighbors. Multiple videos exist, including the one we just watched, showing parts of the confrontation, and there's like kind of different angles. Official DHS spokesperson accounts claim that Ms. Good was trying to run over the officers using her vehicle as a weapon, but local officials in Minneapolis and video analysts seem to dispute that, whether or not she was posing an imminent threat. The Washington Post and other outlets described 3 shots being fired into her vehicle as it moved in the area where she was, and then after being shot, Ms. Good's vehicle continued down the street and hit parked cars and a light pole before coming to a complete stop. You could kind of hear it in the video, you couldn't see it as well, but at one point 2 different ICE agents approached the car, one of them trying to tear the door open, grab the handle and pull the door open. Her window was down, as we saw. She was talking to them, engaging, one could even say taunting. I don't know if it was her wife that was talking when she said, like, why don't you get some lunch, big boy, or just a friend, or whoever it wasn't her. She was the one in the car. So 2 ICE agents approach, start jiggling the door. One of them yells, "Get out of the car, get out of the fucking car," at the exact same time that another one is yelling, "Get out of here." So it's unclear if there was a misunderstanding there, what happened. The SUV was partly diagonal in the street. So if you have, watched the footage, there's some cars that are going by, and then it looks like is in her car getting ready to follow the line of traffic when the ICE truck pulls up behind her. According to the Associated Press, it looked like she might have been participating in a protest to try to stop the vehicles. Again, that's unclear. There are some people who do that as a way to try and stop, vehicles from getting to places and so on. And we'll get more into the legality of that in here in just a moment. So it's unclear whether she was just happened to be there or she was there protesting. The video and the reporting show that her SUV was stopped diagonally in the street when they approached, not blocking all traffic. According to documentation in the Star Tribune, which is based in Minneapolis or in Minnesota in general, the agent's commands heard on the footage were inconsistent, as we said, as far as like get out of the car or get out of here. And then it was bleeped out in that video, but right after Agent Ross shoots her, he walks away and says, "Fucking bitch." That's what was bleeped out. So that's what we know, the basic facts. And also there was video footage of a physician, maybe a neighbor or someone nearby, approaching and asking one of the agents, "Can I just administer CPR to her? Can I check, her vitals," and so on. And told, by one, I'm not sure if it was the one who shot her, but by one of the officers or the agents, no, absolutely not. It was kind of very rough with him. And another one was saying, "Hey man, I get it, I understand. We have our own medics on the way. And if you've seen the other video, the one that's a little bit more, I don't want to say gruesome, but graphic. There's blood splatter all over the snow, and she's, slumped over and so on and so forth. So yeah, those are the facts. Now the question that is, kind of dividing everyone is, was she trying to hit the officer? Did he have reason to believe his life was in danger? And did that justify use of legal force? So we're going to get into the legalities of all of that and so on, but before we get into all that, I just want to invite anyone, who would like, share your thoughts and feelings as you saw that video, as you're kind of pondering it now.
I would just call it as an execution. There was no need. They could have just moved out of the way for the vehicle. I mean, you just have to deal with that in general as a pedestrian on icy roads to get the hell out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's no reason. I don't know what type of due process was involved. Even someone who was in the military, like apparently this the shooter was a veteran, so he would have also should have understood this, and as a law enforcement veteran, he should have known there's processes. So it just seems like gloves are taken off, and we just now have basically brown coats, is what it feels like. They're not law enforcement. They're not operating as law enforcement. They are operating as basically Gestapo or whatever you want to call this authoritarian regime's personal military force is what it's operating as.
Yeah. So, like, when I first saw the video, I was super confused.
Wait, who is this disembodied voice? That
well, I'm Drew.
The force.
Hi, Drew. Who are you?
I got a lot of stuff going on. There we go. I switched the live to me since I'm talking. Yeah, I'm Drew. I'm Kayla's partner in crime here. So when I saw it, I thought it looked like she was turning around, so I've been in that, we all go through the school line and all that sort of stuff. Like it was a residential area. There was no commercial businesses, like houses on both sides, and she's like pulling out of a driveway. I assumed it was her driveway, and like at the very beginning of the first video that came out, there's a car that like goes around the ICE vehicle that like had just stopped. Like you can see it pull up, and this car goes around and goes around her as she's pulling out, and then everybody gets out. So I was under the impression that she was not involved in anything, and they just like came up to her. Now I don't know if that's true or not. I do know that they have made the claim of protests and impeding a operation or whatever, but like I don't know that that's actually been corroborated or not. So I just took it as this is a person leaving their driveway. All of a sudden there's two vehicles with like guys with guns, masked guys with guns, saying get out of the car. Which let me be absolutely clear, as a US citizen especially, but anyone, you do not have to do anything that they're telling you to do. Like they need to identify themselves and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, like if somebody rolled up on you and demanded you get out of the car with a mask, like would you do that? No, literally nobody would do that. So it just, I just thought she was leaving her house in the morning.
So one of the things that I wanted to touch on is, in the aftermath of all this, there's been a lot of discussion about are ICE agents even, what kind of authority do they have? What kind of jurisdiction do they have? Do you have to listen to them? If you're a American citizen, do you have to? If you're not, do you have to? As far as their training, I've also been, I've heard they're not trained, they're not, and so on. It appears they do receive training at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, covering immigration law, criminal procedure, firearms, defensive tactics, etc., etc. But from an NPR post just from a day ago, a Homeland Security expert talked about how their training has been massively truncated in the hiring blitz that's recently been happening, and they're offered like bonuses and things like that.
Did you just see they shortened the amount of time to 47 days because of Trump's presidency is the 47th?
What time?
The amount of training, 47 days.
Oh, they get 47 days of training. Okay. So U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement hired over 12,000 officers and reduced training time to aid with deportation efforts. According to Juliet Kayyem, who is an immigration She served as Assistant Secretary for Intergovernmental Affairs at the Department of Homeland Security during the Obama administration. And again, that's Juliet Kayyem, Kayyem. And so I will include this. I'll grab this link here and put it in the chat so people can see if they want to learn more about it. But yeah, training massively cut back, like you were saying, Drew.
I got a question.
Yeah.
When they are doing these operations, just like any other, because I've seen other operations, like if you have FBI or ATF or whoever, normally you would be involving local law enforcement or even state law enforcement before you do an operation. Did they have any that would have local jurisdiction before they were doing these operations to just even manage traffic? You know, or is it just, are they coming in like the Gestapo doing whatever they want? Because I mean, we've seen, you know, big drug busts that have different levels of government, even locally here. You know, you have federal law enforcement, but then you're going to have some representative from a state and probably, you know, local sheriff or local, you know, someone from the local police department at least in the know of what's going on. Are they even announcing this? Because to Drew's point, you just have a bunch of masked guys with guns running around. I mean, you don't know, is this a law enforcement agency, a government agency, or is this some terror group? Or apparently all three.
Right, and I would say, I know that there was a statement that came out from the Illinois Attorney General, so I'm talking about the state of Illinois, not the state of Minnesota, where basically because we are a sanctuary state, and Mary Catherine, if I'm quoting it as any, because I feel like you probably know the law as far as like the legal standpoint a little better, but where there were several sheriffs, county sheriffs that were involved in basically giving assistance to ICE with arrests. And a few, I think maybe there was 4 that were found to possibly be in violation, but they're still doing investigations. But essentially the sheriff's statements were, if we have a warrant, a federally issued warrant, then we will assist. And that kind of goes along with your question of where's local law enforcement in this situation? If ICE is doing doing something, they're going after a specific citizen, they're going after a specific family, etc. Why is local law enforcement not involved, and where is the warrant for their arrest?
Good question. And I know that, you know, I've seen when people want to empower people that are here that may be here undocumented, they'll say things like, hey, you know, if they don't have a warrant signed by a judge, they don't have a legal right to enter, you know, the property that you're at, and so on. That's something to keep in mind. Drew, you had mentioned in your notes, you know, about body cam footage, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not body cam footage as far as we know.
Yeah, I mean, ICE doesn't really wear, I mean, they do, but not widespread, yeah. I think they started to, especially like in Chicago. I think there was, what's his name, Bavino, right? He went before, and they had to put some body cams on, or they were ordered to. They didn't, because, you know, they don't follow the rules or whatever. But in this case, this is a cell phone camera, his cell phone camera, because the Trump administration, they wanted the agents to film. They want sensational footage so they can cut it together and put it on all their social media and all that sort of stuff. So that's.
Did you see the recent what's the word? I want to use a less inflammatory word than propaganda, but the recent ad, I guess is the way to put it, recruitment ad that's aimed at like young men, and this really I think is where we're going to bring you in here, Chris. But it's aimed at young men, and it's like paints what ICE is doing as a video game, like it has Fortnite kind of on it. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were discussing the cell phone, if you watch, he changes hands.
Yeah, that's very key.
So he changes hands after a confrontation with the person outside the vehicle. So that to me makes it, you know, there's no, I don't need any other evidence.
Yeah, as he's coming around, if you watch and pay attention, as he comes around to the front of the vehicle, before he's to the side where he'll take his shots, the camera switches hands, so like he's freeing his gun hand as he's coming around and getting in position. I mean, it's pretty clear that you know, because
So-
assuming he's right hand dominant, you know, he's holstered on the right hand side.
Yeah, that's where, and again, even with that, then he has to come over like this, and only one shot went through the windshield, so you have two on the side.
Yeah, and well, in that video you showed, like you can hear pretty clearly, like the car's passed, like it's driving away, and there's a shot.
Mhm. Yeah, so according to an eyewitness, the physician that offered to help, it looks like Ross, the agent who fired the shots. It looks like Ross kind of came around toward the front of the vehicle and then leaned on the vehicle and aimed the gun. So there was enough time between when she started to crank the wheel and when he walked around to the front to lean across and point the gun at her, according to this witness, who I believe their name is Emily Heller. She lives on the street where the ICE agent shot and killed Renee Good. So I brought you up for a second here, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about the recruitment videos. I'm going to go ahead and find one of those videos so that you know what I'm saying, or so you guys know what I'm referring to.
I mean, to be fair, the Army has been using, recruitment videos based off of video games for the last 20 years now. I mean, it's just a kind of a core part of our culture now, video games, I think. So they've been doing that now, whether or not, what game they're basing off of, if there's some psychology behind it, changes. But I mean, it's just whatever media works, right? Before that, it was those old Marine Corps, be the greatest one ever,
Yeah, I mean,
and that just worked for them. Yeah.
in
So it depends on your generation what works.
response to something that you had said a moment ago in regards to training that ICE might receive, or if they have permissions to do certain things, I mean, I'm just gonna venture out and say no. And also point out that if you look at where a lot of this stuff is happening, it's happening in blue states and blue places.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a targeted action. I personally, that's only the second time I've seen the video, because I actually make a concerted effort not to see a lot of trauma porn.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way
As
it
a-
is too.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
'cause as a black man,
Yeah.
you see videos of the officer that killed the unarmed black man, like, and they flood your timeline, they flood your
Yeah.
algorithm, and I don't personally want to see that. So the first time I saw that video was probably yesterday, just scrolling, and then today, and it's not something that you can sit and watch and try to make a argument of she's trying to run him over. The people who make that argument are people who are staunchly on that side, and that's probably the biggest issue we face in all of this, is that nuance is dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's either you're on my side or you're not on my side. So that's why I try to avoid being on a side, because you really have to view things as a whole. And in that moment, you referencing the fact that he switched hands. We have a generation of young people that are being raised on the internet and on social media and on that instant dopamine hit. So they don't understand the full ramifications of their actions, because of the fact that this is what they know, this is what gets them going. And then when you take into account the way in which this presidency has, and once again, I don't want to say the propaganda word, but that's what it is. It's they've propagandized that rush. They've made everything into a, we want to have the viral moment. We want to have the thing that people want to share. After they went and got Maduro, I might have mispronounced his name, but after they went and got the leader of Venezuela out of Venezuela, they dropped a video that literally had the Notorious B.I.G. rapping in the background and didn't edit any words out of it. And they're basically saying, fuck around and find out. And they do that because they know that 25 to 45 second clip is gonna get you going. It's gonna get a reaction. And it's gonna get a reaction from both sides. And one thing you have to remember about publicity is all publicity is good publicity.
Mhm.
So if you've created it to where it's a battle between two sides, no matter what the reaction is, as long as you get a reaction from both sides, it's a win. And unfortunately, that's the way we're moving as a country. Nobody actually takes the time to sit back and view things with nuance. Because I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, not to be on ICE's side, but as a black man in America, if someone that I view as a police or federal authority has a gun on me and tells me to stop or get out of a vehicle, the first thing I'm doing is stopping the vehicle and showing my hands.
Mhm.
And I'm only doing that because I have family members that have taught me from childhood. I'll never forget, I was riding with my sister and my uncle. My uncle had been released from prison sometime within the last 2 years. And we're riding and my sister got pulled over. And the first thing my uncle did was put both of his hands on the dashboard and freeze completely. And I'm looking at him like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you tripping like this? I was like, I couldn't have been no more than like 5th, 6th grade. I wasn't that old. And it stunned me to see him do that. But as I got older, I came to the realization of, oh, you did that because you've been programmed to understand that the system is out for you.
Mhm.
The system is out to get you. And what we're seeing now is, and I mean no offense when I say this, but now they don't have a problem coming to get y'all white faces.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
I think the thing is everyone forgets we're all on lists. This is just where you're at on that list.
Yeah, like that's the thing right there. Like this is a tragedy. But in the same breath I say this is something that I have known is something that could happen to me since I was a teenager. And that doesn't justify it, but it's a reality. And I think another thing you had touched on, the fact that it feels like it's the Gestapo, that is where we're at now. And we can't sit here and beat around the bush and try to play nice. We have to literally call it out because that recruitment video, I haven't seen it. I necessarily don't really need to see it. I know the people listening may. But to get that type of a influx of new recruits, that lets me know you have not screened these people.
Mhm.
You have not put these people through due diligence to see if they are really fit to take on the job. And you have a whole bunch of young people who are living in that dopamine fix that I just referenced, who are now being given authority, who are now being given guns, and are being given the opportunity to strike back at a system that they feel has constantly and forever been against them.
Mhm.
Or they're just recruiting assholes who just now get to be bullies with guns given to them and masks. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really the other part of
That's
this.
true, but at the same time, you have to. The thing is, and that's where it comes back to being nuanced.
Yeah.
It's easy to say it's a bunch of bullies who are getting guns, but you have to really stop and figure out what made them a bully.
Right.
And as a kid who was born in '83, raised through the '90s, in the early '90s, you started with the girl power movement, and everything was about girls. And also, school is already designed for women. Let's just be honest. The idea of sitting still for that long, that is not something you expect out of a little boy. So it's already structured in their advantage. So now you have a society of young people, young white men particularly, who've been raised to constantly see that they're the problem, they're always at fault, girls are better, they're the worst thing in society. And I'm not sitting here justifying these points. What I'm saying is these are the points that they have had to digest. And Trump won because he was the first president in over 40 to 50 years who stopped and said, I'm not going to go into the major urban areas and try to win those spaces. I'm going to go into the deep rural areas and find those white men who have not been spoken directly to and tell them, hey, it's their fault.
Mhm.
And that's something that will get you going if you've been feeling this way for so long. So it's not even necessarily that I'm going to call them bullies. I'm going to say that you were programmed to believe that you were the problem. And if someone tells you you're the problem before you've even done anything, Trust me, everybody in this room has been a kid who was blamed for something that they didn't do. So if you've had that feeling for so long, eventually somebody coming along, whether it be good or bad, and being the Pied Piper to that anger or that angst, and then you mixed in the fact that you are running based off of a dopamine fix, you're going to say to yourself, I like what they're saying. I want to be down with them. They're going to give me a gun. This is right. This is fair. This is what we needed this entire time.
Right.
And then you've got a phone. So you say to yourself, oh, I'm about to shoot this lady, and I'm going to do it because she's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a place of me wanting, I'm not going to place blame on anybody. I'm just going to look at things from a nuanced angle without a horse in the race, because I have to figure out how I'm going to navigate my own life.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's a little unfair, because we need to stand up. We need to step up.
We have to stand up.
Yeah, we have to. But it's difficult because you want me to stand up, but when all of this was on my shoulders, and I say this specifically as a black man,
Right.
when all of this was on my shoulders, people was looking at me like, oh, well, figure it out.
Yeah.
But now that it's on everybody's shoulders, you want to look at me and say, you need to be out there marching in the streets with them. And I'm looking back like, and I'm not just speaking as me individually, I'm speaking as a whole here. And I know that's a lot, because I don't want to speak for everybody. But like, why should I?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in the comments was responding to what you said, and they said guns being on white women means that it's only one step away from them being on white men. So maybe white men will actually finally stand up to the police state.
No.
Now, what we see right now instead is the same people who say don't tread on me cheering when they're treading on us,
Bingo.
right?
Yeah.
And so I don't believe that we're gonna see people who, I think that people, to Chris's point, tend to choose a side, and I think that what's missing is the humanity in this conversation.
Yeah.
Even in this very conversation, right? A woman was executed point blank.
Yeah.
So, that's the fact. And I think that the where we are as a society, that when we see a woman executed in the street, the first thing we think of is whose side am I on? That's problematic, right?
Yeah.
Because this wasn't, this was a moment to mourn. As a woman who has stopped at police stops, because I do believe that you should be able to observe law enforcement and hold them accountable. So as a person who has stopped and observed things just for everyone's safety, the thought that that could get you killed is scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
I joined a rapid response team locally to be able to be a support for people on the ground who are going through deportation, not to interfere with ICE operations, but to record, to document, see who's left behind, provide resources. And so the thought that that could get me killed, call me naive, but when I joined the rapid response team, that wasn't the first thing on my mind. And if I was responding and I get executed in the streets, I pray that y'all think something beyond, did she deserve it, who did she vote for, and what party was she a part of?
That's
We've
right.
got to go back to
Yeah.
being humans again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Carly?
I was just, everything that you guys said was amazing. Yeah, we've lost humanity, like, we're all humans, we're all people. And kind of going back to what you said about the dopamine hit, we're living in this, like, fight, flight, freeze state constantly. We can't even access that part of our brain that is rational. So yeah, they're playing to that. We're all stuck in this collective trauma and just responding out of anger, fear, not taking time to, like, sit with the feeling and acknowledge it and, like, process and digest it. It's all just very reactive and
Yes. And
sad.
so, go ahead, you were gonna say something.
I would say it feels like with a lot of, specifically people that end up with ICE is, their belief is, I wanna be right, we don't have to get it right. And I think if you flip that and say, I don't have to be right, we need to get it right, that's a better way to look at it. But I think for them, it's no matter what people even support them, it's easier for them to just stay and say, I'm going to be correct on this at some point. Eventually, it's going to come around where I'll be correct. So that's why I think you have so many people that are entrenched or end up joining. Like you said, they feel that anger. It's like, it's going to come around and I'll be back in the saddle, I guess.
So I want to talk a little bit about Ross's experience. So he was a military veteran who previously served in Iraq, and worked in the U.S. Border Patrol before joining ICE. He was reportedly injured in June of last year after being dragged by a fleeing vehicle during a separate enforcement operation, an incident now being cited by federal officials as a context for his actions. But we know that the video shows him calmly switching the phone from this hand to that hand, right? So I feel like that kind of contradicts the message of like, he was triggered, he's got PTSD. If he had enough time to like, let me make sure I get good video footage of me shooting this person, that doesn't seem like a knee-jerk reaction.
Well, and if he had PTSD, he shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Like that's how
Exactly.
that works in
That
an
seems
actual
like-
law enforcement situation.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a choice. Like you said, the quiet, the calm movement of the phone, switching from one hand to the other to ensure that I assume what you, like, you know, that was his dominant shooting hand. And very, like you said, very calmly switching back and forth. It was not a quick, rapid, it was quick, but it was not like a rapid fire. I mean, heck, me holding my phone by itself, sometimes I'm still shaky, regardless of the situation. But he made a choice to switch his phone, to pull out his gun, and to shoot her, period.
Yeah, and I think the thing you brought up, Mary Catherine, about when someone is killed and the first question is, you know, what did they do to deserve it? They don't do that when a white man is killed, right? It's if you're a woman of any color, it's did she deserve it? If you're a person of color, even a man, did he deserve it? Did they deserve it? What did they do? And I think you're right, Drew, that if you're in any kind of law enforcement and you have, now according to what I can find, there is no official diagnosis of PTSD, but if you've had an experience in the last 6 months of being drugged by a car, it seems like you shouldn't be in the field, as it were.
Especially if you were drugged by a car under those circumstances.
Right.
You're not
Well, and let's,
mentally in a place to where you should be.
I want to actually bring it to Carly for a second, because from what I understand about PTSD, something our brain does is it hungers for a chance to make it right. It hungers when we've been traumatized. Our brain can hunger for this opportunity to go back and like protect ourselves from the abuser, or you know, whatever. Talk to us, you know, from a mental health perspective on like, you know,
I was gonna
the
say,
impacts
like,
of that.
of course, I'm not him, so I don't know what he was feeling or experiencing, but he did not look like he was in a crisis. Whereas somebody who, I don't know, I imagine if I were in that situation, having been hit by a car, whatever it was, if I were in that similar situation, like he claims he was in with this incident, your body would be reacting, like, because I don't want to assume he didn't receive any therapy or anything to work on that previous traumatic experience, but I mean, he probably didn't. But yeah, just looking at it, he didn't look like he was in a crisis or experiencing PTSD at all.
And you know, I think it's fascinating that as we see all the time, you know, to be clear, I'm not trying to engender empathy for this person.
Right.
I don't think this person deserves empathy.
No.
What I'm saying is, the experience that he went through should have preempted him from being in that situation at all.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And what I found interesting was the conversation that happened between him and, I'm not sure if it was Renee's wife, Becca, or just another person who was participating in it, but saying, hey, why don't you go grab some lunch, big boy? I mean, talk about like an emotional reaction to like, you know, people will say, well, they shouldn't have been instigating them, they shouldn't have been taunting them, and so on, to which I would say, how convenient is it that you think taunting and instigation is grounds for murder,
Right.
when it's coming from that side?
Well, having worked in a school before with children and families that are in active crisis, I mean, I've been hit, kicked, punched, you know, all the things, having worked in a school, and, you know, I've never once in that situation felt like anger towards that person. I recognize like, oh, you know, they're doing this because they are feeling a certain way, it's not anything against me. And so if he had proper training, I think he was triggered. Of course, I can't speak for him because I'm not him, but I think that the big boy comment probably triggered him, and then it clicked in his head, and he's like, all right, he knew then what he was going to do. And
I wanna
yeah.
pause for a second talking about Renee to let's talk about Keith Porter. Who here has heard of Keith Porter? Did you anybody know?
Not till you said
Well,
something.
And while we talk about, Keith Porter, I wanna make sure I get his name right, can we also talk about Severo Villegas Gonzalez, who was, killed in a very similar vehicular incident, where ICE used a very similar language that, he weaponized the car, even though, the video evidence disputed that, and because he was an undocumented immigrant, we didn't hear too much about him either, so I certainly wanna talk about Mr. Porter, and I also, maybe
That was
another
in
time we can
Chicago,
come back,
right?
cause Chris said a lot about the racial disparities and the things that exist with immigrants and black people, and not, choosing a side because of historical issues, and I don't necessarily agree with all of that, but I will say that there is a difference in the way that we receive death when it is someone who, like I said, is this undocumented immigrant man who was killed in a very almost identical situation that didn't rise to this level, and Mr. Porter, who certainly hasn't received the same sort of attention. And so I just also want to make sure that when we start talking about the nuances of race, that I'm going to misquote Dr. King, but we have to stand together or perish as fools, right? Like, so we can't draw, like, I am pro-marginalized people. I stand with the people. I have for a very long time, and I always will. I have a lot of experience working with immigrants, and obviously a lot of experience working in the black community, and I can understand, sometimes there seems to be a, how do we say it? It's almost a need to pit the two against each other, right? Like I told you, I'm doing the ICE detention cases in Chicago, for our office, and so we hear the question of like, oh, when immigrants came to Chicago, you guys opened up housing for them and you poured money into their communities, but black people have been homeless for years and you didn't get that same kind of investment. Black people have been getting executed by the police for years, we haven't gotten that same kind of attention, and all of that is true, but I want us to be careful that we don't pit the two groups that have been oppressed against each other, because that is what they want us to do.
That is what they want us to do. As I often say, as the radical leftist in the room, the only real war is the class war. The wealthy pitting everyone against each other. So Keith Porter, 43-year-old father, was fatally shot on New Year's Eve, so not the same day, it would have been some days ago, by an off-duty ICE agent at his apartment complex in LA, according to the Department of, I don't even know, DHS. The agent heard nearby gunfire, exited his home with his weapon, and allegedly encountered Porter holding a rifle, which he says Porter pointed at him and refused to drop.
Or something?
No.
No, it was a rifle.
Prompting, go ahead.
No, I think I read it was like how on New Year's people do celebratory shooting into the air, and then I believe I read that it was an AK, and that he had been celebratory shooting in the air, and that the ICE officer was off duty and came and of course had to confront him, and then it ended tragically.
So basically, if he was white, it would have been Second Amendment rights to have that gun shooting off on New Year's.
Because don't tread on me, right?
Right.
Don't tread on me.
Because don't tread on me.
Yeah, and also, where are they? Where are the Second Amendment people that have had their guns?
They got hired by ICE to wear masks and have guns that they don't have to pay for.
Buddy. Yeah, well, yeah,
Well, they didn't show up for the podcast here today, so.
they're busy. I guess they're busy. Drew,
Yes.
give us some input on your thoughts about the fact that Trump almost immediately after this happened made a post on Twitter, it will forever be Twitter, about saying that the officer was run over, was in the hospital. Did you read that tweet?
A lot of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep up, so I know quite a bit, and that's why it's like this issue. This is why nuance doesn't work, is because this was a radical leftist demonstrator. Like that's enough for people, right? When you dig into things, and it's like, no, actually, we got to go through evidence. We got to corroborate all it. Like everybody's like, bro, no, I don't need any of that stuff, and it completely in one ear out the other. But we're gonna do it anyway. You know, like I think that we owe it to ourselves, the country, our kids, everyone to like take some time with all this sort of stuff. I mean, I personally, I think 24/7 news it's the thing that led us here. You know, there used to be a separation of news reporting, you know, like up to a week, and you know, we had time to analyze things and sort of get this. But as far as Trump goes, I mean, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, who had the right to do what and what are people going to do and all this sort of stuff. I think it's clear at this point that none of that matters. They're going to do whatever they want to do, and it's going, like, someone's going to have to stop them. And the courts are where we have had some victories against that. Not, I mean, it's not a great track record so far. So, you know, at some point, there's going to have to be actual resistance to this stuff if we want it to stop. I mean, that means us, because ain't nobody coming. But as far as that goes, you know, Trump's tweet, and it's not just Trump's tweet, it's Trump's tweet, it's Carolyn Leavitt from the podium as the press secretary, it's President J.D. Vance claiming absolute immunity for ICE, which is a bonkers statement. So, and it's Kristi Noem, right? Everybody, all of the top people in that administration immediately come out, and I mean, I personally, I think it's slander on this woman's name. They don't know anything about her. And I think that holds true for, you know, Abrego Garcia. Like, I mean, they slandered that guy's name. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, they just immediately jump out. And I don't know when people are going to wake up. I mean, I know, you know, especially white guys. Like, I've been in these rooms, okay? I've been in these rooms 10 years ago when Obama was president. Like, I've been in these rooms, and everybody was like, you know, Second Amendment rights. And if they knock on my door, they're going to find out. Well, like, they're knocking on doors. Well, they're not even knocking on doors. Like, they're yanking people out of cars, right?
Well, I mean, and I'm sorry.
No, yeah, go ahead.
But what you got to remember is they were saying that during Obama because the way that it was packaged and the way it was presented. You know what I'm saying? This black man ain't gonna come tell me that they're gonna take my guns. You're not gonna
give me health care.
Yeah. How dare you?
That's why it's trying to make us exercise.
I failed to appreciate how much it was actually about a black president at that time. I mean, I'm very much I mean, I hesitate to label myself these days because, like, all of those people are completely full of shit now, right? So, like, I don't really like it, but, like, I failed. That's my shame, is, like, at that time I thought, you know what, there's this kind of racist around here, but, like, as it turns out, that's a lot of what it was. Now, Chris, you're right. You know, there is a disenfranchisement out there, and white guys definitely feel that. And I think that without...
Are you talking about the male loneliness of
Yeah, I mean...
And that's real.
And it's real, and it's real.
It's very real.
You know what? We can
Y'all
talk till
will
we're
do-
blue in the face.
Y'all will do anything but go to therapy.
Right,
I agree with that right there.
Yeah,
I agree with both saying it's real and they refuse to do
Yeah,
anything but go
that's-
to
Yeah,
therapy.
but this is
that's the
nuance,
thing
right?
about it.
Because
That's the
therapy is seen
nuance
as
of it.
weak.
It's not saying that these men don't need therapy,
Right.
but if you just act as if it doesn't exist or act as if it's their fault, then you give them more
Yeah.
fuel to their
Right.
anger.
They need a
It's
better way to
clear.
process it other than internally.
Yeah.
It may
Yeah.
not necessarily be like this male loneliness epidemic, but it is the way that people process stuff internally is one of the biggest issues for
Well,
people to go down that path.
The fact that men don't have a way to connect with other men emotionally.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, men
support.
can't hug their
for
friends without being
fear
called,
of
like,
being
gay as a
homeless.
boy.
Oh, I'm a hugger.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah.
like once we're close enough, I'll come
When
and
we
hug
say
you.
men, we're talking about straight,
Yeah.
cis, hetero men,
Yeah.
right?
But-
Right.
And also, I wanna, I wanna move on here, real quick, but before so, I wanna say, it's not a question of whose fault it is, it's a question of patriarchy hurts everyone, including men.
I mean, white supremacy hurts.
White supremacy hurts
everyone.
everyone, like everyone is hurt by it.
Yeah. And
It doesn't really benefit anyone other than the people who are running society. But what I wanted to bring up was this question of, as the great George Orwell said in 1984, the party asked you to reject the evidence of your own eyes and ears. That was their final and fundamental demand, I think is what he said. And so now we've got, in real time, you're watching a video of what happened, and then all of a sudden, the president and the vice president and all these people are saying she was a radical leftist. He shot her in self-defense.
he
All
was
stuff-
injured. Like the claim
Yeah.
was he was
Yeah.
injured.
He was
Like
lucky to walk away.
yeah.
I mean, these are the
Trump
same
said-
people that are saying the same thing about January 6th, that it never happened, even though we watched it in real time.
Yeah, it said she was a professional agitator.
I think they said she was
What
dropping
type
her
of
son
job?
off at school, right? Like,
Yeah,
That's what I-
she just left dropping her kid off. Is like what I
Yeah,
read.
oh, he's referring to the other woman, okay, so the woman who was talking, who called him, said you might need a little lunch there, fat boy.
Hey, hangry's hangry, you know, I
Right,
get that, maybe he did
was
need that, you know.
hangry.
Maybe that's gonna be his that's gonna be his argument, his defense was, he was hangry, his insulin, you know, sugar levels were low, but it doesn't really matter, because Trump can
1,000
pardon him.
excuses.
Snickers made a great
Doesn't really- he
campaign
doesn't-
off of being angry.
I'm about to say ICE is now sponsored by Snickers.
Yeah.
Don't be hangry.
Wait,
Yeah.
are you being sincere?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
That was
I
totally,
believe you.
that
No,
was
you don't.
totally a joke, but
You
I
don't
mean, in
know
our,
that. You don't
I mean,
know.
in our corporate capitalistic
Yeah.
nightmare that we live in,
In the
I
sound,
mean.
in the soundbite world we live in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And one
but,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, no, go ahead.
Okay, one thing I'll say is the reason why you get that response is because she is the type of victim that you have to say that about. We literally just talked about two other victims, and they didn't have to make as many statements because a black man had a gun, somebody shot him. They don't have to explain that.
Yep.
An undocumented
Right.
person did something, they shot him, they don't gotta explain that.
Privileged
Oh, white
person.
woman did something? Oh no, she wasn't just a white woman. She was a left-wing agitator. She was this, she was that.
Right.
And I gotta go back to it, I'm sorry, I wouldn't be me if I didn't. You know how I feel about the word patriarchy, I don't believe in it.
Oh, brother.
But I'll go back to something you just said. The biggest issue we face is class.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't just sit here and say patriarchy, because when you say patriarchy, you paint it as all men. And you can't even say cis white
We're talking
men.
about a system,
But hold on.
not individual
Right,
men.
right. But my thing about that system is that system isn't based on a patriarchy. That system is based on class and money.
Rich
It just
white
so
men.
happens
But what you have to understand
that
is
a handful of super rich white dudes came up with a plan. A plan that regular white men can't get into.
No.
That's
He
right.
can't take value out of that.
We
I
in the
can't take
club.
value.
We in the
Listen.
club.
But they
Right.
utilize propaganda,
Yeah.
okay, to
brainwashing.
make people
Okay.
like Adam believe that if you behave like X,
I don't believe what?
because you.
Oh,
and
me and Drew
Right.
represent the
I'm
white
just
men.
yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
To
that's
make
great,
you
man.
feel
You
like
don't get to,
if
sorry.
you just behave like
I'll
we
set that one
do,
out.
you can
Mhm.
have the power we have. So if you are the alpha male and you
They-
control your house, if
Mhm.
you
They dole out privilege is what it is.
It's
And I think to
yeah.
Ezra's point is, white men are just, the white men and women are just catching up.
And the
With
thing
realizing
about it is-
privilege is given, it's not inherently in this system.
The
I'm
thing-
just saying, it's not, you know.
The thing with that word that I'll go back to is a point that I had made a little bit earlier. You use that word and you say it's the patriarchy's fault. Once again, you are putting everything on these men, giving more fuel to their
No,
rage,
no.
more fuel to their anger. I feel you.
Not
Okay, how
Oh,
about-
you
But
can't
here's
start
the thing.
sugarcoating stuff because people
No,
get
no,
confused,
no,
sir.
I'm not sugarcoating.
I got the definition of patriarchy right here, and if you say
Girl.
it don't exist, patriarchy is a social system where men hold primary power and authority in political, economic, and social structures, leading to male dominance and often the devaluation of women and feminine traits.
And
Like,
what men
we don't
have
live
that
in,
power.
I mean, we could have a separate black man and woman
No,
conversation.
I don't even wanna say
There's-
race.
But
I'm saying specifically, what men
All-
get that power.
all men have that
don't
power.
get it.
I think,
All
to
men
Chris's point, I
don't.
think the best way to say is, instead of just shortening it to patriarchy, for this conversation, we say the white rich patriarchy, because that's really ultimately at the end of the day, who
I want
is at
you
the
to
very
imagine
top.
a Venn diagram, okay?
Okay.
Patriarchy, colonialism, imperialism, white supremacy, Christian supremacy. These
Mhm.
things are all
Capitalism.
connected.
Right.
Capitalism,
I-
girl.
And,
But
they're
and
all
capitalism is
connected.
the one that is above it all.
I agree
So
with
if you
you.
don't have
I
access
agree
to,
with you.
if I don't have access to 7 of those circles in that Venn diagram, don't sit there and try to paint me with one of them just because I have a penis. And what I'm trying to tell you is,
in your brain.
and I'm saying this, I'm not just saying this because, I'm not saying this from the viewpoint of just me. I'm saying this from the viewpoint of someone who's been working in schools for almost 20 years, and I'm literally watching these young men, and I see the way that they move and the way that they interact with each other and the way that they're exposed to different media and the way that people put things on them. And I'm just saying, you have to see that you are literally creating a young generation full of rage and blame. And if we don't stop and think about that, we are going to continue down this path. Now, we can sit here and have this nuanced discussion, but think about the fact that we all reached out to somebody to come and represent the other side, and they're not even willing to come sit down and talk.
So what do you do about it?
What do you do about, and that right there, that is the $1 million
I think
question.
What we
I
can't
think the
say
big-
is like, not say patriarchy or say it doesn't exist. I think that what we can say is it exists and there's nuances and
That's
there's
right.
young men who may suffer, and if you're working with them and hearing that in real time, right, then I think as a leader and as someone who should understand the nuances of life, it's like if I say white supremacy, everybody in this room doesn't get upset. Y'all aren't white supremacists, right?
That's right.
So I think
Right.
it's
So
kind
why
of
do
the
you
same
get
kind of
upset when you say
situation
that?
where if we say patriarchy or men, and it gets to like, not all men, not all of us, like, we are talking systems. And if you look at Donald Trump's
Yeah.
cabinet,
Yeah.
look at all the presidents, look at all the senators, look at representatives, like, look at the percent that have been women, that have been black, that have been anything other than white men, and it is a patriarchy. And then if you even add other diverse groups of men, it's still more men than women. So
And
obviously
also-
there's a hierarchy of power.
Also, there are women, there are a lot of women that help keep the patriarchy up. I mean,
Oh,
women
yeah.
have internalized
What's that?
misogyny.
Absolutely.
Women are out here, but that's what I'm saying though, the problem is the
Right.
system, we're not talking about individuals, we're talking about a system,
Right.
right? And I would argue, bringing this back to the question of ICE, that patriarchy and the underlying values in patriarchy have a lot to do with why that man acted that way. Because he believes he has power. He believes, for once, I don't know if you guys listen to what the hell is that? Jesse Wells, the singer,
Yeah.
acoustic,
He's always
and the
standing in, like, the
harmonica. He's
cornfield
always
or-
standing in like
yeah.
a field. You know what I'm talking about? He has a great song called Join Ice, and it's like the lyrics. I'm gonna look up the lyrics because you'll appreciate this.
I think maybe just trying to smooth things a little bit, but maybe we refer to it as less patriarchy and use the term maybe toxic masculinity.
No, those are different things.
Well, but they're very linked. I think from our perspective there is,
We're
because
just
about
stick
it.
with patriarchy. That's what it's called.
So,
well, in the Venn
just real
diagram
quick,
there
I
are
don't-
overlap.
My personal perspective is, with respect to what the actual issue is, it doesn't matter what you call it, it's not gonna change the depth of the
Right.
problem.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what we call it, it doesn't change the depth of what's going
But
on.
the thing is, it does matter what we call it because words matter.
Agreed.
And the way people react to words. You
But
feel
there-
me?
but
Like,
there
I'm
are-
not, and I want y'all to understand, I'm not sitting here like campaigning this because I'm afraid of women or I think that men are better or anything like that. I just know the way certain words trigger people. And the moment you throw trigger words out on people, that's when you lose the ability to
But
connect.
that's like saying that we shouldn't call racist white people racist because that's going to offend them. They're fucking racist.
Right, learn how to
But
handle your
patriarchy
triggers.
Yeah, they
is
have,
what it
there
is.
is a
Okay.
level of responsibility on them to be able to process the fact that maybe I am part of the problem. We all at some point in our lives have made mistakes, right?
Right.
And
We've all
nobody
been part of the problem.
Yeah.
is, at some point in our life, whether it's like global or local, you've been part of an issue. And you've had to acknowledge, and that's part of life. That's part of growing up. It's like, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, I'm gonna learn and grow. But like, there has to be some accountability at some point.
That's right.
And
We
there
can't.
has to be, I agree with that.
I think that's the big problem right there is accountability, right? Accountability, self-accountability, just like someone, let's just say it was an accidental gun discharge. I'm not saying that is, but you're already quick to do blame. You're not doing like a root cause analysis. What was the cause of this? And if you're in medical or any technical areas, you do a root cause analysis. There's no blame. You're just looking at, you're investigating. Really like a lot of law enforcement agencies used to do with detectives. They're not looking for blame. They're just following the trail.
Just follow the trail.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's like, what
Yeah,
happened?
incident.
Instead of putting out, you look at, okay, so you look at the way the UK does things. Let's say there's a sexual assault charge or some sort of charge against someone. They don't let the media go off and convict the person. They follow the trail, and then after that, they release, everything. Here in the United States, and we have a history of media, and we want to say it sounds like it just happened yesterday. It's the internet. It's the 24-hour media.
Oh, yeah,
Ben
no,
Franklin
you know.
invented the media in the United States since the day the U.S. started.
Yes, a free
And,
press is
right,
essential.
and the free press was meant free from the government, not
That's
free
right.
from the pocket, not to, we've always used mass
Free from
communications to manipulate. And I think that's one of the differences between the United States and many other countries is we will convict ahead of time in the public forum through mass communications, whether you want to call it what type of media. And now I'm just losing my train of thought because my coffee's
No,
empty.
that's okay.
But I think that's actually what we're really seeing, because we've already seen the victim was already judged and blamed, whether it was, you know, the orange dipshit.
Moments after she
Right.
was killed.
Not, I mean, yeah, and the fact is, like, could she, you know, we don't even know really what her motivation, we don't know, maybe, we don't know. That's the thing, the process was not respected, and that's really my big problem with ICE is, you took border guards, you took all these different government agencies and threw them together. It was like when DHS was created. You just took all these groups and threw them together post 9/11, right? If any of us who remembers 9/11, it used to be all these different groups. And then the same thing with, you know, ICE was formed from what, 2 or 3 different government agencies?
Yeah.
And now been turned into a personal force. So they're not doing any due process. There's no detectives. There's none of this going on. And that's really, I think, the big problem right there is we just don't know the facts. They haven't followed the facts. They're not professional law enforcement.
There's no de-escalation training at all.
Right.
There's no,
Yeah.
I
they
mean,
don't speak about it, they always speak about how anytime that there is conversation, it's how they're gonna be the aggressor versus how they're going to de-escalate,
It's
or how they're
almost
not.
like they think they don't need to consider whether or not people that they're interacting with consent to the experience.
It's,
I mean, that's,
it's
Right.
censored
They
by-
definitely
that's-
believe
that's-
that.
that's the world we
Oh,
live
yeah.
in now.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
I wanted to read you guys the lyrics from Jesse Wells' Join ICE. He says, well, if you're looking for purpose in the current circus, if you're seeking respect and attention, if you're in need of a gig that'll make you feel big, come with me and put some folks in detention. Just last week was kind of tough. I put a kid in cuffs. I zip-tied a lady to a van. We can sneak around town, hunting working folks down. I hear they got a great benefit plan. Join ICE, boy, ain't it nice? Join ICE, take my advice. If you're lacking control and authority, come with me and hunt down minorities. While I failed the academy, the cops weren't having me, the army didn't sound that fun, so I found me a paramilitary operation that was keen to hand me a gun. I got picked on at school, I never felt that cool. There's a hole in my soul that just rages. All the ladies turned me down and I felt like a clown, but will you look at me now, I'm putting folks in cages. At ICE, we're respecting power, join ICE, I hear they got great hours. There's a sign-on bonus of 50 grand, they're in need of you, needing to feel like a man.
I don't even think they're paying the 50 grand bonus. I mean, that's the other
I
thing.
don't know, but they make you, if you're in need of needing to feel like a man. If you're looking for purpose, and then he goes on, but yeah, I mean, that's,
And
I mean.
and with that being said, it instantly makes me think of a video I saw. I think it was either 2-3 days ago, but nonetheless, the video was speaking about reproduction and intimacy, and it kind of touched on the male loneliness epidemic, but it spoke to the fact that 80% of women have gone forth with some form of childbirth, and in men it was only 40%, and that's because women date men from an economic viewpoint. You have to be able to provide something in marriage. That's what it was. I'm sorry.
You're so wrong.
No.
We're gonna have,
Can I
it'll
finish?
have to be
It's
another
very short. It's
conversation.
very short.
Okay.
But men date women from an aesthetic viewpoint as far as marriage goes. That's a fact.
Oh.
Women go more economically. And the point that the man made was you could see a Jay-Z date someone who didn't
Are you
have.
trying to say basically men date based on what their dick says, but women date based on what their brain says?
It's not what you're. It's,
Trying to say women want a high value man.
I'm not even saying that.
Look up
So
Kevin
either-
Samuels.
So either way,
And
if
see,
you're
it's
ICE,
giving.
you're low
I'm saying
rent.
it's
No.
giving, it's giving.
So if you're
And
going with
if
ICE,
that's what it's giving, I
It's
understand.
giving.
But
It's
what
giving.
I'm saying is, we are in an economy where many men don't have the ability to provide for a family.
I'm telling
And
you
when
what.
you give them an
they can get a
avenue-
dog and some peanut butter if that's what they need. Okay.
Animal
I
care,
feel like there's a
no.
lot of projecting,
No,
like
you see
inadequacies on everybody else. Like, if your economy's lower, okay, sorry.
But that's
This
okay.
isn't the
What
conversation.
I'm
I need more
saying
time.
is-
No, no, it's
What
okay.
I'm
What
going
I,
to-
what I, what I,
Go
what
ahead.
I wanna get at though is that men have no interest in impressing women, period. Men do not get dressed thinking, do I look good to women? Men get dressed thinking, am I impressing other men? Do I look like I have money? Do I look like I've got my shit together?
I don't know what men you know, but I ain't.
Have you been on Reddit where we talk about men who won't wipe their ass? I'm just saying. Because I'd like to know where these high value men are that I'm supposed to be finding, cause.
I personally don't even know one woman who cares even a little bit whether or not a man is gonna provide for her. The
Well,
women I know are looking for a man who just will not be mean.
Well, and
But a
honestly, that,
man in his mind, but most
Let's do
men,
a dating
I would
podcast.
love a
Yeah,
dating
yeah.
podcast, but I'm gonna head out to the rally, so I'm gonna dip off, but
Okay.
great conversation, guys, I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, so, we're gonna sort of, I don't wanna say get back on track, cause I
We'll
don't
go
think
back.
that is off track, actually.
I would say one thing about that though.
Okay.
I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I just would like to point out that like, it is, I think it's true that women have a rite of passage they go through, and that's childbirth. For many women, right? It's like like a defining sort of thing. Like
Moment,
it's
yeah.
it's like in the cave. You know, it's like the hero's journey, like in the cave, and you come out, and
Mhm.
and men don't really have that in modern society. Like they would normally. I mean, there'd be some sort of vision quest, or they go off to war or something
Right.
like that. And like that's the energy I think that they're trying to capture for
Agreed.
these guys, right?
That's what I mean when I say patriarchy hurts everyone.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
men
for sure.
need that opportunity, they need that, but what does that vision quest do? What does it touch on? It touches on some kind of deep
you got your
emotional.
own
A
mic.
whole new world,
Oh,
guys.
yeah.
You thought I was unleashed before, it's about to
So, you know what we're really discussing here, and people think the movie, and maybe haven't ever read the book by a gay author, Fight Club, right? Everybody, it was sad.
Yeah,
You
for
got
sure,
so many
man.
people looking at it as a model of how they want to be, right?
Yeah.
But they're not seeing that it was satire, and it was
Yeah.
criticism and satire of male, masculinity and how that role is. And yes, the loneliness or whatever, maybe it's not truly loneliness, it's just not achieving what you think, because you have this term called alpha bullshit and all this other stuff out there. And that's what's attracting the ICE people, right? Or and really other parts of the government or anything really, right? This very hyper aggressive, toxic, masculine on top. So that would be the top of the patriarchy, right? And they tend to be white, but it's not exclusively white. It's, $50,000 to $50,000. I mean, there are people that join because they are providing for a family. I'm not trying to justify it, but you give someone $50,000 and their kid has cancer, they're gonna fucking join ICE. Just like how many people joined the military when you full well knew you were gonna go to Iraq and probably come back with no legs. I mean,
That was
there
my
is a practical
point.
point to it.
That was my
You notice
point.
though it, but you
It's
also notice
easy.
how many women do you see joining ICE? You don't.
No.
So I mean, it's kind of where it plays into both of everyone's conversation here. It plays to the provider that you're trying to be, the alpha provider, which can or cannot be, depending on your motives, are you part of the patriarchy because of that? Or I should say an active member of the patriarchy. Because I'll be told, just because I'm male and I'm a white male, I am part of the patriarchy, whether I'm an active member and
That's right.
exploit it,
It's just like.
I still have the privilege. But as
Yeah,
Chris here is pointing out, everybody's starting to learn is that privilege is just like me saying you're on the list. It's like who gets to lose that privilege first. And I think black men have been like, shit, we've been doing this since day one. You all just catching up.
Started on that bus.
Yes.
that's
And
right,
and
yeah.
the reason why I went down the path I just went down was because you brought up the 50,000. Now go back to the things that I was saying about these young angry men. Now you add on to the fact that I'm going to give you economic value, something you don't have. We live in a town right now that's dying in front of us.
And this is
All major companies are leaving.
in this very
Let's just be real. People lost jobs at Quaker. People losing jobs at Grain, Craft, Bungie, whatever you want to call it.
Heister.
Don't worry, the VA
VA.
will probably be going to Champaign soon. Yeah. I'm willing to go ahead and say these wild things because you are in a country where it is literally dying, and you have these young angry men, and you tell them, I'm going to give you purpose, power, and money. What do you think is gonna make you more
I
valuable
mean, that's
in the dating world?
It's
If you
almost-
can go forward and say, oh, don't worry, baby, I might not wipe my ass, but I pay this bill. That's gonna work for you.
it will work for, and it might
It's
work when you
going
find
to.
And there are women you will find that is their motivation.
Almost-
But you know,
One could almost
That's
say
all I'm
that
saying.
there is an
might
economic
not be the right
system
person
which
for
has
it.
been built to keep everyone poor
And
and
that's-
desperate and
and-
willing to sell themselves for whatever they have to.
And that's why I said I don't like the patriarchy term. Just like I would say something else. I don't like the word racism or racist. Because those are words that have been watered down. They've been used so much, and people have thrown them out so much, that when people are hit with those words and you call somebody, oh, you're racist. You know what, at this point, whatever. No, you're part of the patriarchy. You know what, at this point, whatever.
well,
because it's
labeling,
gotten
right?
to the
You're talking
yeah.
really just about labeling
And
people.
it's gotten to
It
a
is-
point
it
where
creates
it
a-
just doesn't mean anything anymore.
Part of the labeling is just really us versus them, because once you label someone else,
Thank you.
everything else is me or us in this room. Everything else is outside that
Okay,
room.
but then we get the white person who walks in the room and says, that's why I say all lives matter.
Well-
It's not just black lives, it's all lives. And then they
Well-
obviously miss the fucking
Well,
boat.
then again, the other part of that is then you see someone that says all lives matter. Yeah, no one's saying that doesn't. This is the zero sum game, right? That you can only be this or you can only be that. Like I can say Black Lives Matter. I can say, Asian lives matter, right? I can say all these things. I can say all lives matter. Nothing says you can't be all that, and that's the problem. There is this very strict dichotomy mindset. It's this or this, as I think we've all said. It's a black and white. Very, very. There's no nuance in between anymore, right? The gray is just gone.
Man.
Like, I mean, you look at a lot of what even your older Democrats, right?
Man.
They're quote unquote liberal, but then you start hearing them at Thanksgiving talking, you're like, holy fuck, what did you just say?
Yeah.
And it's
That's
really.
why I always am so careful to let people
So-
know I am not a liberal, I am not a Democrat, I am a leftist. We
Well,
are
even
very
that can be-
different.
But even that, like, yeah, I mean, and again, the nuances. What's the difference between a leftist, someone who's liberal?
Well, I'll tell
What's
you.
the difference between a social democrat versus a socialist versus a communist?
Right.
Usually a couple bullets, but I mean, that's a different thing.
Frankly.
When it
Well,
comes to the
and-
communists.
And as someone who is I mean, growing up, I was a Republican because honestly, that's all we had in our area. I mean, this is a very red area.
This is Kentucky.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah. I don't know. They got, yeah, right. We need the bourbon, absolutely. I'd rather
Or
have
horses.
that. But you know,
You know, Indiana.
from the perspective of the old Democrat versus the young Democrat, which I do laugh when people keep calling me the youngster because I am in my 40s. Thank you very much. But yeah, I believe you were born the same year, Chris. Absolutely.
Oh, see, I'm
So
77,
anyway,
babies.
it was something I kind of noticed that was just a complete shift. We can go with the New York election of Mondani
Oh,
Mm.
girl.
because before.
Mm.
When he was the front runner, but you had a lot of Democrats that were like, oh, absolutely not, we do not support him, we do not do this. And then I was on a call, that was a nationwide call as a chair, and it was interesting to me that some of these voices that I heard previous to his election were all, oh, no. As soon as he won, it was like a light switch flipped, and they were like, "Oh, he's our guy. This is fantastic." And I just sat there during that call and thought, "Really?" But I don't. Yeah.
And it was also, though, telling that it was Bernie Sanders who was the one who sworn him in, not just because he's a prominent Jewish American political, but he's also like the most left political of the big, in old school.
Of the old school.
I
Yeah.
mean, he got arrested, everything, right?
I
He
mean,
passed the torch, is
By
what
the
it's doing.
way, just a reminder that if you look at these things through a global lens, Bernie Sanders is a centrist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, I know. I work.
Leftist.
So as I mentioned, I work for a global company, so I'm always talking with my coworkers who are European, and other than like what the fuck is half the time when we talk about anything in the U.S. Actually, that's most of the conversation. But yeah, when it politically, they're just like, what the heck's going on? And then you talk to the French coworkers, and they just want to riot, and they'll burn everything down just to have a day off of work.
That's what I want to explain about the difference between a liberal and a leftist. Okay, here's me playing a liberal. the system is just broken. We just have to get back on track to what it was intended. This is not my America. Okay, that's a liberal. A liberal says we just need to get a Democrat in power. We just need to get out the vote. A liberal believes that this system can be saved if we just get the right people in office.
We've gone too far though.
I'm a
I mean,
leftist.
we've just speaking, we have gone too far to the right, to the far right, to basically say we can get back to the left. Yeah, we jumped the shark. I mean, that's a good way. And not to get us back to a different subject, but to go along with the whole male loneliness epidemic, the discussion of the song Join ICE. I was reminded of an actual situation I was in. On vacation this last year, I was in San Antonio. I went to Fiesta down there and had a, yeah, absolutely. So my cousin's sister was in charge of one of the largest fundraisers down there for the old town San Antonio. So we're talking major money. As such, the San Antonio police were assigned, she had a personal security detail that was by police officers of San Antonio. Because I asked her one time, I was like, why do some of the police officers have this color on their uniform and others have this color? She's like, oh, if it's gold, that's the city, they're the ones here to support security, blah, blah. She goes, silver, those are my guys. And I was like, oh, so they're all cops. She's like, yeah, but that comes out of my specific budget to provide security for me, because she's carrying around large amounts of cash going back and forth, right? So in order for us to basically be around her physically, we had to be introduced to her own security force. So that way, if I wanted to take a break and go sit on those nice little rocking chairs that she gave to her staff as gifts, they had to know who I was. Not a problem. So we hung out with a lot of police officers. And one of the other relatives in the family, she found one of her high school classmates, and they're just chatting and everything, and he was talking to her. And of course, you know, like I said, the police are kind of watching because they're keeping an eye out for all of us. And I heard him say, yeah, I'm going to the academy. Well, instantly, multiple police officers are like, and I should note that most of these police officers were of Latino descent. There were a few black men as well. Not really any white guys that were part of the major security detail right there. Right, exactly, it's Texas, it's San Antonio. So anyway, he said he's going to the academy. And every single police officer was like, man, that's fantastic, which academy? He said he was joining ICE.
Oh.
Immediately, you could feel the ice. Literally, the freezing out. And it goes back to that wanting that bonus, wanting that financial security, wanting that respect or authority, because immediately they tried to talk him out of it.
Really?
They were like, why if you want to be in law enforcement, why aren't you joining the police academy? Well, you know, we've got, you know, I can talk to someone, I can, you know, discuss. And he's like, no, this is what I want to do. And he walked away to go get something to eat or drink, and all those police officers basically jumped on this poor girl and were like, you need to get him out of your life.
Really?
You need to get him out of your life, because, and she's like, dude, I just ran into him, like, we're not really friends, we're just high school classmates. They're like, yeah, you need to scrub your social media. He is going to be a bad guy.
Really?
Because he is joining this, because that's what he wants to do. And it goes back to that idea of, I want that prestige, I want that idea that I'm a powerful person. And again, I don't know any of these individuals one-on-one really. I mean, I obviously know the girl because she's family, but I don't know the rest of I don't know the police officers. I don't know, you know, one of the guys likes to dress up in Star Wars costumes. I mean, that's basically the conversations we all had.
Right.
I don't know what this guy, this young, you know, and I say boy, he was not a boy. He was in his 20s, but you know, I don't know what drove him to decide that that's what he wanted to do. I don't know if he applied to the police academy, and like you said, he didn't, you know, in the song, that he didn't get approved or whatever. Maybe he didn't pass the psych eval, for example. So it was kind of an interesting part from me as someone who is watching from the outside, and I was just like, huh, okay, well, I'm gonna go get some chicken on a stick now, because that was an interesting conversation to kind of like break down, and yeah, so it was fascinating to me.
Wow. I feel like when the bad guys tell you that a guy is a bad guy, that's a bad guy.
Right, exactly, and that was my thing, because I mean, I have a healthy, granted, I am not here to bash law enforcement, because we do need law enforcement.
That's okay, I am.
I know you are, we're good. We do need law enforcement. We do have laws in our country that should be obeyed. With that being said, there still needs to be checks and balances to
Right.
ensure that we are doing our
What a
due
concept.
diligence. Right, and that's the thing, is that's my concern with ICE, is that you don't have a checks and balances.
No, the checks and balances with the damn president.
Well, that too, but I mean, you know, for example, you have a shooting and this is just, again, my observation of the police forces, you have a shooting happen, it's automatic, you're gonna be on vacay because you got paperwork to do, they gotta investigate this is a
Just
good
on
shot, a
fireworks.
bad shot, etc. And literally, like you said, when it was coming out from the media of the entire Trump administration, it was a good shot. We haven't even investigated. This woman's body hasn't even made it out of the car yet.
You're right.
And we're all saying it's a good shooting from the administration perspective. And that
Who
was,
said that?
it was Trump, I thought.
All of them?
I thought
They're
he
cheering
was,
it on.
Because
yeah.
what Trump had posted.
I thought he was the one that said it was a good shoot.
Yeah, I
He
think
might
good
have.
shot was
Yeah.
the wording.
Yeah, yeah,
In,
and-
in his truth, what I'm
Right,
sure.
right, true social
Yeah.
media, because
Yeah.
all the other social medias are mean to him, so he has to have his own.
Oh,
Dude, it's
But,
brilliant.
poor guy.
right, yeah.
I will throw you out.
You ain't got it. Look, here's the thing about it, and this goes back to something that I've touched on a lot throughout this podcast, is the fact that you have to be able to take a step back from everything and literally remove your feelings and emotions from things and look at things through a wide prism
Right.
without any biases. And when you do that and you see the way that he's playing people and you see the way that he is scamming the system and making the money he's making and hustling the way he's hustling,
Wait. Go on, you're gonna say
you
he's brilliant.
gotta say no. I'm saying that he has played this brilliantly.
Agreed.
His
But-
keepers
I mean,
too.
the man put out a Bitcoin, and it like the Trump coin. How much money did he make off of that?
Well, it
How
was
many-
money laundering,
Wait,
so
wait,
sure.
And the thing about it is, most criminals are brilliant people. If you wanna know who some of the best people I knew growing up, who would be the best businessmen, they were the drug dealers.
They were probably
Why?
more honest than
Because
the
they were.
Republicans.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not justifying any side. I'm just looking at things all the way back.
Let me point out the brilliance of this of the president. Okay,
Mhm.
this just was posted in the last half an hour. Okay, they're at a press conference. Donald Trump receives a note from Secretary
Oh,
of State
yeah, I saw that.
Marco
What'd
Rubio.
he do?
Marco Rubio passes a note to Donald Trump during this press conference. Trump says, "Marco just gave me a note." He tells the room of executives. Rubio capped his pen and glanced down. President began reading the note aloud.
Mhm.
Go back to Chevron. Trump read from Rubio's note. They want to discuss something. Go back to Chevron. As he spoke, Vance was clearly amused, laughing on one side of the president as Rubio smiled. So yeah, I mean, super brilliant, reading a past note aloud.
Well, I mean, Vance is lucky in his sense, because he could just say 25th Amendment, who inherits the throne?
Man,
That's the thing, couch
that's
fucker
what he
himself.
really needs to be worried about.
Yeah, I mean,
that guy.
Yeah, but I don't think he has the appeal and granted,
God, no.
don't
No.
get me wrong, he's got Peter Thiel money backing him, and that's
Yeah.
that's the big
Yeah.
thing.
I
But
mean,
he does
unless
not
you're a
have
couch. If
Right.
you're a couch and you see him coming, you're
right,
like,
exactly.
Oh,
But he doesn't have the appeal
Think of
as
the
far
words.
as to the general public. He does not have that joie de vivre that
Yeah.
I
Trump
know use
has.
fancy words
No,
like that.
see, you
Gosh
say
darn, I took
brilliant.
5 years of French, dang it,
You
let
say
me use
he's
my
brilliant.
terms.
I say he's a professional narcissist.
I mean,
Yeah.
and the
He's
thing about
very
it is,
charismatic.
and here's the thing about it: 2, 3, 4, 5 things can be true. Because I also think the guy's an idiot sometimes, most of the time.
I mean,
But if you
Yeah.
look at it, the way Trump got here, like let's really look at the way he got here. Donald Trump has been in our lives since the 70s. Donald Trump is
Inspirer, yeah.
Donald
Yeah,
Trump
yeah.
is
You
the
saw
dude.
him on the front page
He's
of
the
everything.
dude that was sitting ringside at WWE WrestleMania.
I remember.
He's the guy walking through the hotel lobby and
He's
on
the
the
guy
too.
Yeah.
Who on
He's-
9/11 was bragging that he now had the tallest buildings
Yeah.
in New
Yeah.
York City on that same day.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
when his buddy Rudy was down there
And
doing
see-
his shit.
And see the things that I want to point out that I'm trying to point out are the ways that the dude has made himself, the way that he made himself to where he's at. He's the guy sitting next to Whoopi Goldberg eating popcorn in Little Rascals.
Okay.
The dude made a connection.
Yeah.
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 Okay, but listen.
Listen to rap music.
What you-
How many rappers are saying that we had the Trump? The thing about it is this: the man made himself a part of the public and media zeitgeist, and then made The Apprentice, and then Obama pissed him off at that press dinner and insulted him, and he said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna run for president. And he did it in the same way that he's made himself valid and popular this whole time, by playing the media, by using that same je ne sais quoi, that same charisma to get people on his side. And who did he go talk to? The people who were the least like him, the poor, angry rural,
The deplorables.
that's why I say,
Yes.
that's what I say
Okay.
about him is brilliant.
But
Go ahead.
how about
Mhm.
just consider that, because I see what you're I see what you're
Yeah.
saying, I see where you're coming from. But how many times in history has a very fucking unimpressive, mediocre white man rose to the top just by being in a system that supports everything he wants to do?
Oh, every
To
king
me,
in the world?
Every king in the world. To me, it's less that Trump was brilliant and knows exactly what he's doing and he's got this master plan, and more that a very fucking mediocre white man said, I want to do a thing. And the entire system, the money and the people and the society said, yes, sir, we're going to make it easy for you. I think he got really fucking lucky because the system supports everything he wants to do. The capitalist system supports what he's trying to do. The patriarchy supports what he's trying to do. White supremacy supports what he's trying to do. He is in the perfect place at the perfect time for things to go right for him.
And he also, here's the other thing, he came to, this whole political, coming in for the presidency. Look who he was going against. And I'm not here criticizing Hillary per se. No, but I am going to say,
be real.
no, but what I'm going to say
Be
is
real.
the U.S. did not want another Bush, and they did not want another Clinton.
Be real.
That was it. No, that was really
And
it.
then they
Thank
also
you.
didn't.
And there were questions on the DNC. When we started looking at these
yeah,
super delegates,
the
the super
emails.
delegates, right? No, the super delegates. It's like the people were like starting to really, Bernie was getting momentum, and then all of a sudden it was the DNC came in doing back end deals, that shady quote unquote Democrat thing, and people, that's what was viewed also with Bill Clinton, even though really it was George W. Bush, no, not W, Daddy saying no new taxes and then raising taxes, and us coming into a golden era because the Soviet Union collapsed. We were in a golden era, and that's why the 90s were great.
The 90s were the height of
The best.
civilization.
Yes,
I was
because we
only a
had
kid,
surge
but it was
to
the
drink, and we had the amazing colors of stuff.
We had
But
Lisa
no,
Frank.
But really, that's the thing. That's
crazy.
But when you look at that, people were not wanting. We just came off of having Obama, and that was great. But that also sat there and got a bunch of race, and I'm going to say racist, angry white men, because that's exactly it. Someone took away the government from them, something they felt you took.
Go look at Reconstruction.
Because I was just actually going to say that. Look at Reconstruction. During Reconstruction, we had black senators, representatives, and everything. And because we failed to do, basically, we should have hung a lot more people in respects to who betrayed the country, right? The Confederates were traitors to the country. That's something we forget about, right? They held arms against the country. They went to war. They assassinated Abraham Lincoln. And people will say, well, there was Republicans and Democrats. Remember the party split, flip-flop with names? People don't understand. That's a nuance. And I will actually go on my soapbox here and say a lot of the nuance went out when George Bush became president and had no child left behind, and we stopped teaching critical thinking in school. We went with learn A, B, C, not like how many of us did was fill in the blank. And it was a big ass paper, and you filled it in. And that teacher sat there and had to grade it for the next 3 days because they were dumb and had you write it out instead of typing it out because they were fearful of technology and typing. But that's a different story, and I still give my teacher shit on that. But again, that's what happened. We started dumbing down America, and then all of a sudden we got these little phones, and we got all sorts of other things. And if we talk about 1984, look at Brave New World.
Brave New World.
We got our Soma. And if you look at Fahrenheit 451, we are also now we got our TV screens everywhere. So it's really so it's not just 1984 where we are willingly have taken all this. And we have taken a hierarchy. I would say there's a hierarchy is really probably a better way. And we're in the hierarchy you fall, right? And so I think there's a lot of that. And then we had 9/11 happen, and we can go into details on how 9/11. But But we do know one thing about 9/11. There was a lot more going on 9/11 even before that, because Osama bin Laden was actually a known problem. We tried to kill him in Desert Fox, which a lot of people go look it up. That was an operation where we tried getting rid of him. The day after the Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky thing, we decided to do the operation 2 days earlier than was originally planned.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Way to
a
go, baby.
It's
Yeah.
almost like distracting from the.
That's
actual
another good one to
files.
watch is Wag the Dog.
I mean, and also like we haven't, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but we like went into another country and we kidnapped, we pilfered their president.
Yeah,
You
that
mean
was
like in
the same
1989?
week- The
Yes,
same
see,
week
that's
as
what I
this
was gonna
shooting.
say.
Panama?
That's what I was gonna say. A lot of
Lydia?
a lot of people that I see commenting,
Bricks.
you know, on stuff these days seem
I
to
don't know,
have the
Capitol building?
impression that this is
They
like
tried.
that this is new.
Mm-hmm.
But none of this,
No.
not only is
No.
this not new in
No.
America, but it's not new in the
No.
world.
No.
Just remember, we have a dementia guy, potentially, with the nuke codes and full authority to nuke the living, destroy the world, literally. He has full authority.
Yeah.
The only thing that protects us is the guy carrying the football maybe saying no, or some officer remembering their oath saying, yeah, fuck this. But that's why they have 60 or 70 of these guys all out there willing to nuke the world, right? Just in case one says no. There's still another 50 or however many there are.
Right, and you know, you and others have brought up Gestapo and have brought up things like that. Drew, what can you tell us about, what are your thoughts, I guess, on, are ICE the new Gestapo? Or can they become the new Gestapo? What do you see as the ultimate, if this thing plays out the way they want it to, what does that look like?
Well, I just want to know where the line is. You know what I'm saying? There's no. I question whether or not ICE is even law enforcement. Really,
Mhm.
I mean, there's civil employees enforcing civil federal law, and it's very specific too. It's not illegal to be in the country without papers. That's
Mhm.
not illegal. It's illegal to cross a border without papers, but they'd have to prove that person did that and all this sort of thing. So, I mean, I'm not going to give up. They're not law enforcement. You do not get that kind of honor, and we know when they're not going through the training that law enforcement get. You know, I have problems with the type of training law enforcement gets anyway, because I think they should de-escalate a lot more. I think they should not be deployed. Men with guns are not the right tool every single time, right?
At all.
Sometimes those are really specific, right? So my question to everyone, this is a U.S. citizen, you know, it's a woman, and
A white woman.
a white one. So, and to me, when that car drives away and he mutters under his breath, "fucking bitch," to me that just gives everything away, because women, I can tell you, women know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
abuse,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
abuser talk,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And so
100%.
and like I said, I've been in those rooms with the white guys talking about when the feds come, we're gonna, nope, not on my watch, and I still think that, but this is it, right? They're snatching people. So my question is do I think they can become the Gestapo? Yeah, absolutely, they are. Where's the line though? What's actually going to? I mean, it seems to have ignited some people. I don't know that it's going to be enough. What was it in 2020? We had George Floyd, right, and that was a big deal. And that's the thing I think that really drives this all home for me. Is without Me Too and without George Floyd, I'm not sure the whole Trump thing happens. I think it still could happen, but what's happening is a backlash to those things, very specifically. So they're trying to put the genie back in the bottle a little bit, and I just want to know from all these people, all of these white guys that I mean, I'm there with you. Yeah, when the feds come, let's go. It's time. But now is the time, and I see people on the sidelines, and where is the line? I just want to know, where is the line?
Well, and I do agree with you. I mean, that is the question of where is the line. I mean, as someone that obviously is a white woman, I have been taught to use my privilege to protect others. And now we're finding out, no. Because honestly, I probably would have reacted the exact same way. I have been taught by friends and family that are in law enforcement that when someone is trying to get into your car or someone is trying to stop your car, you get the hell out of the space.
Right.
I have been taught that if I am driving at night in the country or wherever I'm driving and a police officer comes up behind me, the first thing I am to do is to put on my flashers and to make a call to the local 911 to find out if this officer is even an officer. Because there have been too many women who have been raped and murdered
Yeah.
alongside
Yeah,
roadways.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, and this was something that not necessarily was a shock to my system, because honestly I expected it to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a matter of time. But it should be a giant wake up to people that where is the line? Where is the limit? This is a woman who looks and talks like I do. This is a woman who, as we are learning more and more details that come out about her, she wasn't a radical leftist who was attending and bombing different places and doing that scenario. That it appears, according to the documentation that's been, stories that are being released, she had dropped her son off at school. She and her wife and their dog were headed home, and that's where I do get confused, because there's difference in things. I've heard that they basically got a call of, hey, ICE is in the area, can you drive through, you know, honk your horns, make a lot of noise, make some show of, not necessarily force, but a show of, we won't let you go quietly
Yes.
into the public, and to show
be
up.
clear, that is a right.
Right, absolutely, yeah, I have, and I
We
have.
talk about, oh, we have to protect America because this is the land of the free, but then when someone wants to use that freedom.
Well, you're starting to see law enforcement in many places, and I want to first of all say everything interactions I've had with Danville law enforcement is that specifically Danville PD has been actually pretty positive. I think because of the community-based, you know, they're really in the, you know, we can argue about should they be in the schools, but they do a lot of outreach that isn't DARE, right? We can laugh, any of us from the 80s can laugh at DARE.
Which
But-
is still going on, by the way.
Right,
Yeah.
well, someone's gotta have money, because they gotta have that cool car through Caesar,
Car,
you know,
yeah.
civil Caesar, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so I want to first of all say that about Danville law enforcement is actually better than I think when we hear about what happens in Champaign and Urbana. Danville's been, I would say, one of the better ones out there, right? And I even look back to where I grew up north and that, and so I want to just be upfront about that, right? And the thing is, I don't understand. I don't think what ICE really is a law enforcement, right? They were Customs and Border Patrol, so
Yeah.
you know. I mean, so we're talking about people wanting to know, did you bring a banana in from Mexico, right, first of all, or did you bring a little kid in from Mexico, or Canada, or whatever, right, or did you know,
Canada, the US would not allow me to bring my grapes in.
no, absolutely.
When I bought
California's
them-
the same way
When I
too.
bought them in Canada and they were a product of Chile.
Yeah, no, and so that was their job, it is a bureaucracy, right? Like, if you're here illegally, and that they're just gonna bog you down in bureaucracy, that's how like most everything else in the government is. And then, yeah, okay, if there's a warrant for your arrest because let's say you were a gang member or something, that warrant would then go to whatever local law enforcement, state law enforcement, an actual Title IX federal, if they're federal, like Title IX, but even then, you look at your Title IX, that's kind of the ones that go through the law enforcement, you know, like the FBI, law enforcement academies. Even Fish and Wildlife Service has, you know, law enforcement, as does the VA. The VA law enforcement guy can't go off site and go arrest someone at, you know, the old Royal Donut building that, let's say someone took, you know, was over there doing vagrancy or something. They even can't go pick up a veteran. Let's say a veteran was over there committing, you know, that's part of the VA. They normally have to bring either a state or the Danville with them. So why the hell doesn't ICE have to play by these rules? And I think that's where the line is. And again, you know, this is where where the fuck is Congress? Where the hell, you know,
Yeah.
he's too busy being, I mean, honestly, the speaker is just being a cuck for the fucking president right now, to be honest. What, you know, seriously, he is. And then the Supreme Court, what type of evidence or what type of, does he have? I mean, even the people, the crazy part is the people that Trump put up there are not the ones playing ball with him. They're kind of the ones like going against him at times, pushing back. It's like, what's his name that Clinton put in there? What? You know, were they all hanging out at Epstein Island? Because that's all I can think of. And we can go down the Epstein road too. Because, and to be fair though, let's just say the Epstein thing is about right and wrong. I'm just gonna say because Bill Clinton was in on that stuff. We'll just leave it there. We're not gonna say because we do not have.
I'm not going down that.
All I'm gonna say is I don't have a Bill Clinton flag, and I don't know anyone else who has.
Yeah.
I will say though,
Never did.
when I was stationed at Andrews, I did get my Bill Clinton M&Ms with the presidential seal. I got them somewhere at home. We could not get a cigar. they would not let us get cigars off of Air Force One, and they tried saying because they were Cuban cigars, but really because they were taking them all as evidence, I think.
Oh,
Yes.
Sorry.
No, no,
Yeah,
I'm not.
no,
I'm
no,
not.
no, I just remembered child.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah. So, sorry.
No, no, you good. Say, I'm gonna piggyback a little bit and kind of take something that you said to kind of buoy what you had spoke about with that family member. The reason why those law enforcement agents heard that he wanted to join ICE and they were so like, whoa, what the hell, goes back to exactly what he was just touching on, because most police officers that I know, and I mean, I've never been like a pro-police guy, I ain't anti-police. I'm, like I said, I live my life from a very nuanced place, from a very, hey, I ain't got nothing to do with none of it, I'm just watching.
And you realize that life lives in the gray.
Yeah.
There's not a black,
Bingo.
there's not a white, it is purely gray.
A lot of the people that I know that are officers see what ICE does and how ICE moves, and they realize, like, wait a minute, my training wasn't even the best, and y'all got less than me. And what they asking y'all to do and what y'all are agreeing to do goes against what I took an oath to do. You know what I'm saying? So like that's where you see that division between ICE and normal police departments. And I will go on record as saying that I am not a fan nor a supporter of ICE. And it's just because I don't think that it's an organization that gives proper training, has proper direction, or has proper oversight. You know what I'm saying? And without those things, you cannot operate in a way, shape, or form that is beneficial to anybody.
Facts.
And that goes back to some of the stuff that I touched on earlier. What type of person could you convince to join that?
Desperate people.
And we live in a country full of
Desperate
people.
I mean, I'm not surprised. It is the modus operandi of people like that in power to co-opt the suffering of the masses.
Yeah.
Well, so like first we make the situation for you so bad that you're suffering immensely. Then we offer you this opportunity to gain back some of the self-worth that you've lost, to gain back some of the power and the prestige that you've lost, and we create the problem and then we sell the medicine. Like,
well, and I mean, also you look at the people who voted to put Trump in office, other than the fake ballots probably, but is red, we call them red areas, right? Very rural America areas, Rust Belt, very areas that are down on their luck due to the economy because they just didn't adapt. We can argue NAFTA, we can argue global.
Right.
That's irrelevant because the fact is we're a global society now. You want your coffee, you want your chocolate. That's global. You get that, right? That's just the way it is. And the thing is so these are very rural areas where people are desperate, while the rest of like urban areas, like so Chicago and other even mid-sized cities, even in Illinois, are doing better than Danville, right? We're seeing that. We're seeing you go up to Chicago and it's just like night and day. And I mean, everybody has this idea of Chicago and it's so bad. I'm like, I was downtown Chicago, 2 a.m. with teenagers during Riot Fest, which, by the way, you guys gotta see Dropkick Murphys, how anti-ICE they were, and Jack White, we were ready to march.
love that.
So yeah, I mean, I think the problem is in a town like Danville, right, is we're getting left behind. And then who's coming behind, picking up, it's the music man, right? Who's selling the hope, who's giving you a little song and dance and all that, and it's like, the orange dick is doing it, right?
And I think you've made a very good point. This is, some of the people I reached out to kind of had this idea of like, this happened in Minneapolis. Like, what is this? Aren't you guys like hyper local, Vermilion County? Because this is a risky situation.
All things are local.
First of all, all things are connected, but we have an amassing of people in this area that are increasingly suffering from poverty, that are increasingly suffering from lack of health care, lack of mental health care.
And it's not a racial thing. That's the thing. In Danville, a lot of people are suffering. Even people that would historically are considered middle class in income, and would have health care coverage now is just gone to shit. I mean, because we all work for companies, and not every company is out there being greedy, mind you, because you are a company as a clinical licensed social worker on your own. You are your own company. But you got the other big part of the the great smash and grab, right? That's going on right now has been the private equity companies. We saw Watchfire get bought out by a private equity, which is great if you're the owner and you sold it out and you go, yay, I got all this millions of dollars. But the companies that are owned by private equity firms, right? So these are big companies, they get a portfolio, they buy up other companies. What they do is they squeeze. They're trying to get their return on investment, whether it's 10%, 20%, whatever. And it basically ends up being a smash and grab because they get whatever money they can, and then when they're done with you, they use you. So it's literally capitalist rape, is what I would call it. So what they're doing is they're taking the smaller family-owned businesses or large family businesses, companies. So like something like Watchfire or any other companies here locally. Heister is another one, right? Why Heister went out? Heister got bought out by a larger company years ago, right? Decade ago.
Yeah.
And we've just been on the fumes. And I work for a company, and I'm not going to hold disclose, it's not local, but we're owned by a private equity firm. And there's a process. They buy the company, they get whatever whatever was promised, and oftentimes they also give a loan out. So now you're owned by them and you owe them. Honestly, drug dealers are probably, in the cartels, are probably a little more honest. At least you know what you're getting into up front.
Very.
Well, I mean,
Because the thing about private equity that, like, just look at Toys R Us, look at Red Lobster and the way in which that they took them out.
Joanne Fabrics.
Yeah.
When a private equity company buys your company, they come and take all of the
Everything.
land, and then they make you pay you gotta pay me rent now.
Yeah.
And if you can't pay that rent,
So this is part of it, right? This is all part of the whole thing. You got the smash and grab on the hypercapitalism with the private equity firms. You have whatever the fuck Doge was or is.
It was
You know,
a
so you
hat.
have
It
Elon
was a
Musk.
hat. It was
Yeah.
a data hat.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what-
Sold to the
that's what it
Russians.
was.
And then you also have the other part of smash and grab in our government with Trump and his cronies. They're just grabbing what they can. I mean, at least Dick Cheney with his was at least we had the war and he was just going through like Halliburton and a couple other companies. He wasn't trying to like take everything. Like seriously.
Then Dick Cheney seems like a less bad guy than
Right.
other guys.
Well, the fact is Dick Cheney did hate Trump. I mean, when the fact that Nixon and Dick Cheney are being spoken as those were the good days. Holy shit, right?
Right? Yeah. So we had somebody else comment about literacy.
Boy.
Oh, yeah.
boy,
Well, I
Literacy
can't wait.
makes,
I'll blame some of that on COVID. too.
literacy
Boy.
makes a huge difference. Big cities, which are mostly Democrat, are hotbeds of post-secondary degrees. With the advent of social media, people have stopped reading. They get their quote news via video, and due to lack of education, cannot discern the bias.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
this is a conversation that Drew and I have had many times, because when we decided to start the Vermilion Times, I was coming at it from the perspective of an experienced journalist through like newspaper, like the written word. Plus I'm a writer and a poet, and the written word is my thing, right? Whereas Drew over here with his high tech, mumbo jumbo was like, nah, listen, people are, writing.
Well, people don't
written-
read, first of
People
all.
don't read, basically. And although that wrecks my soul and it makes me cry myself to sleep at night, I think that the point really, as what she's saying is, I recently saw it was a comparison. It was basically talking about the people who have been educated and where they live, compared to the education level of, I'm not doing a good job of trying to say what I'm trying to say. Words are so hard to do. No, but what she was saying about, big cities being a hotbed of post-secondary degrees, and people getting their quote news via video. I mean, AI, y'all.
Well, I mean, some of this is
See how
generational.
immediately, as soon as they got a picture of that man's masked face, all of a sudden they had an AI photo of his face. That wasn't even his real face.
No.
It was just AI trying,
Trying
and then
to
they had
develop
like
it, right.
and that's terrifying. I mean, if
Right.
you've watched Black Mirror,
Oh my God.
like that's really
Yeah.
fucking terrifying, right? And especially in an age where you're treated like subpar if you don't embrace the modern technology.
Well, I mean, and I think the thing is we got to think generational, right? And that's what, and we have one generation now that's coming into becoming adults that were hit by COVID. That, to be blunt, sometimes they can barely put a sentence together, but they can,
Facts.
damn it, they can find a meme that can explain everything.
Right.
And we wanted like, haha, it's like, and we joked that it's, they got this or that. And it's like, no, COVID was a big part of it. Then technology taking off. I mean, they grew up with these, and they grew up with social media, and now AI has really, so I work in technology. So one of the things you look at is the original internet. We had all the knowledge capable. We could actually reach out and get information. And Wikipedia then organized it. It was easy to look up. You didn't have to memorize, who won the whatever World Series and how many this whatever facts, right? Now we've got, and then social media. Now we can share that, right? And we're always connected, 100% of the time. Not just 24/7 news, but we're always connected. Now we have now taken AI, which is really we have given up our decision-making capabilities purposely. And what the other part is, then we also have the TikTok, the quick dopamine hit. So these three things really hitting all at once. And then you have state players, and I will be upfront. If you look at this, you look at right before the election, all the TikTok you were seeing, and I'll be, primarily, let's say a lot of it was focused on Palestine, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say right or wrong, we're not going there, but you look at that was a sheer, because you start looking back, that was an operation by Russia. They've already seen that to influence it because there was a lot of push, or from Iran, it was from a state player, to split the Democrat vote. Because there were a lot of people that did not vote. They stayed home on one issue. And we also saw we saw this also with a lot of, on the other side with abortion, where there were a lot of women who might have voted against it, but because of one issue, right? And we're seeing that. We're seeing state operations, whether it was on whatever issue, that really would split the vote. And they honed in on, specifically it was really with respect to Israel and Palestine. And I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying it influenced. And it could have been influenced over damn cat videos if there was a way they could have figured it out. Just to be blunt. But it was really specifically on that because you saw a lot of people stay home, the spite votes. And they're like, oh, it's a spite, there were a lot of spite no votes or spite votes. I'm going to vote Green Party, which Jill Stein has never won. She may as well be working for Russia at this point because of how many spite votes. And she comes out every 4 years, kind of like, leap year, and that's it, right? Doesn't do anything else, it's not like Bernie who's getting arrested or working stuff or, whatever.
For the crazy dude.
So I'm just saying is we've seen influences right through the TikTok, and we saw it in the most recent election cycle. Again, because I know there's sensitivities on certain topics in that, and we saw also with Black Lives Matters, right? When they're going to go up to Hoopston. I'm like, what the fuck is up in Hoopston? Man, we saw that video.
Yeah.
They were going to go up to Hoopston. What are they going to do? Jerk all the corn? I mean, seriously, what the hell is in Hoopston?
100%. As a Hoopston resident, I was told by actually I was not living in Hoopston at the time, I was living in a different community in Illinois, but I was told by my neighbor that when the race wars started, that they would protect me and I needed to be careful, blah, blah. And I looked at him and said, I think when the race wars start, we're not going to be on the same side.
But so what it's coming down. Oh, sorry.
One thing I'll say though is when it comes to Black Lives Matter, that was never our movement.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Ours.
No, I know.
Black Lives Matter really started in St. Louis, in Ferguson, and the men, and I say that again, the men that started that movement were all murdered, and then that movement was basically given to a group of women who never had real quality intentions. And if you go look, they pilfered that organization and those words for millions of dollars. Went and bought mansions, went and bought cars, and everything I'm saying is you can verify it. It's verifiable. They were given that title and they ran with it because you could use those words to incite the base rage in some people to get it to where people in Hoopston, people in Westville, people in Bismarck really thought that there were rows of angry black people ready to come down 57 and Route 1 and riot in their towns. And that was never something that was ever even thought of.
That fear that an oppressed community is going to turn on you and do to you what you did to them.
That comes.
But see, that's part of it. This is the whole meaning.
It's generational.
The reason. I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish.
No, it's generational. It's I've said in the past, white plantation owners knew full well in their fucking bones that there was absolutely nothing they could do if their slaves were to unite and turn on them.
Yeah.
They knew. They even knew that one slave, one man accustomed to working a hard labor job with very little food and water and shelter and medical care and rest, that one man could still take that
and
one
let's-
plantation owner.
And let's go ahead, since you done took us down this avenue. Let's really break this down, because when you think of slavery, the thing that most people think is they picked cotton. But what people don't understand is the slaves did everything. They did the building, they did the land, they did
Like building Washington DC,
all of it.
our whole country.
They did all of it.
Yeah.
So those were the most highly trained workers in the world.
Highly trained,
At that
physically
time.
capable.
And the reason why that base rate still exists, and this is a conversation me and my brother have all the time. My brother Darius, he's a assistant principal over in Champaign now. He's got a history major. He's a history nerd.
Love that.
I was always a social studies nerd. And social studies and history, while they are similar, they still are different.
Right.
And the thing that me and him always talk about, the thing he always says is, the experiment of America is so odd and so awkward and different is because it's the only society to ever use slavery and not be overthrown or get rid of its slaves. We are the only society in the history of the world to use slavery for the advancement of the country, of the civilization, and then try to fold those slaves into society without there being a total uprising or a total separation.
Right.
And the thing about it is, even in the way that we're taught in school, you get to learn about Harriet Tubman. You don't get to learn about all of the others, because there were tons of black men who led slave revolts. There were tons of them, but they can't teach you about them, because a strong black man is not what they want for black people. You can learn about Harriet Tubman, because the thing about, and
She's
this
still
is,
a woman, and
and
she's
the thing about it is,
nurturing.
this is one of the reasons why I get so mad at the word patriarchy, is because the black community has been made a matriarchy for at least 200 to 300
That's not a
years.
matriarchy. Let me be so clear. Matriarchy is not the opposite of patriarchy. Not even a
I'm
little
not
bit.
saying it is.
A matriarchy.
I'm not saying it is. Go ahead, tell me what a matriarchy is.
It's not where women are. It's not like you just flip the roles and now all of a
Okay.
sudden women are the ones in power and women make all the laws and they don't take into consideration the well-being of the men. That's not matriarchy. There's no society like that on earth, and there hasn't been.
So what is a matriarchy?
Actually, sorry, can a white man actually think for you?
True matriarchy.
What's
okay.
matriarchy?
Matriarchy is, let me do what.
So
what
actually, there were a
I.C.E.
couple of
did.
Native Alaskan cultures that were
There-
considered matriarchies
There
because
There
No,
are
it's because-
matriarchies. Yes, what you're describing is a real matriarchy. What I'm trying to say is the fear,
with the word the. in
the
front of it.
fear that matriarchy is the opposite of patriarchy. That kind of
Oh, no,
belief
no,
that they
no, I'm
have
just
doesn't
saying-
exist.
But no, there are actually, like with matriarchy, they're very rare.
Oh, it's
That's the thing. They're
common amongst indigenous peoples. There is still matriarchal
Yeah,
society.
it's about like who your mom is and who her brother is the only male that matters. Your dad doesn't matter. It's your grand. I mean, he still matters, but it's really the key male. Like in like Kinglet, it's like your uncle, your mom's brother. They matter, and the
Yes.
women decide everything.
And what the fundamental difference between a
Everything lasts for
matriarchy
years,
and a
so-
patriarchy is that a patriarchy is focused on what they would
And I
say
was
in
in,
social
like,
studies,
helping a native
the
village, so
patrilineal line, which means
Okay.
you are who you are because of who your father was.
Right.
You take your father's name, you're identified as your father's son, right?
Mhm.
In a matriarchy, children are identified as their mother's child because because the roles of men and women in the society are such that the father of a child is not important. Not that the father person is
So
important.
what I'm trying
Who
to
the father
tell you
is not important.
is that black people have lived in that for 200 to 300 years.
I mean, and maybe this
Go
is-
back and look at slavery in the way in which they removed the black man from the household, from the family. Go look in the 60s when they took the black man out of the household for
Yes.
welfare. Look at today. Baby mamas.
Yeah.
When do you hear about black men? When they tell their kids that daddy ain't shit. And I'm being very broad when I say this, but the black American experience has been what you're explaining. I was raised in a house with my mom. My dad came and went, but my mom is what mattered. Look at any athlete when they win a game. I want to thank my mama. we as black people have operated and moved it. You don't go to grandpa's house, you go to your big mama house. Everything in culture in America that displays black people display the matriarchy. They don't give you strong black men because they killed them. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. You ain't seen no more since then. Why? Because as a black man, I know if I say too much, they'll kill my black ass too. So we live in a world as a black person where we operate in this matriarchy that you're speaking of. But, and I say this because I understand where I live, they want it that way. Because the black woman is the most educated person in America. And who's the other super educated person? The white man. So those two, boom, 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 boom. Because I gotta make sure I keep these black men and these black women apart so they don't stop and think, hey, maybe we need to stop worrying about all this other shit that's going on in the zeitgeist and sit down with each other and try to fix us. Like that's the point, that's the point that I feel that never gets made. And it never gets made because the moment you do that, you might actually get these black folks on one accord.
Well, and also in those cases, it does happen. Good shit happens.
Yeah,
I mean,
because the thing about it is, and please don't take the rant I just went on as me shitting on black women. I would never do that.
No.
But it can't be a patriarchy or a matriarchy. It has to be a team. And the reason I say that is this: when I hear people say I'm a strong person, I don't need somebody to help raise my kids. I compare it to riding a tandem bicycle. You can ride that tandem bicycle by yourself and you can get to where you're going, but you're going to work a whole lot harder and you're not going to be using that mechanism in the way in which it was designed. And I feel that way about raising and bringing children up. And that doesn't just mean it has to be a man-woman relationship. But to properly raise a child, you have to have a structure for them to have two units that are working together in a community surrounding it to uplift that child.
As he said,
That's what I want to clarify. In a matriarchal system, the entire community is focused on the child, on children. The entire community is focused on the well-being of children. It's not focused on who has the power and who has the right and so on and so forth. It's about how can we as a collective society raise children. So let me finish.
You're starting to sound like a little communist over there, a socialist. Holy shit.
So they don't have this concept of the nuclear family, which, by the way, Drew, I think you can attest to, the idea of the nuclear family only came about in the early 1900s.
Right.
This mother, father, or two parents and your children and everybody else, you visit them sometimes. That's not how children were ever raised. In indigenous societies,
well, it's not what the science says either. The science, there's a few studies lately that talk about like the average number of people in a what do you want to call it? I guess a non-Western sort of a setup is like I want to say it's like 7 adults in the child's life.
So we watch things like Coco, for example, that Disney movie Coco.
I thought you were talking about the gorilla.
No.
Because that would be more that.
No, I mean the Disney movie Coco, where you've got grandparents and aunties and uncles all living together. That was my life also in Egypt. Everybody lived together, and worked as a sort of extended family unit. So this idea that you have, Chris, of like, it might seem very woke to say like, oh well, it doesn't even have to be a mom and a dad, just two parents, and then the community supports them. That even in itself is a patriarchal perspective. A matriarchal perspective would say, everybody is looking out for these children. It doesn't matter no one person, male or female, is responsible for providing for this child. We all as a collective society are responsible for the well-being of all of the children. So in that way, a man can't say, well, that's not my child.
I mean, that's really what it, I mean, that's really what it, as a joke, it's like, who gets to whoop you, right? When you were doing wrong, it'd be like, everybody down the street, all the moms, right? I'm not saying it, corporal punishment or not, I'm just saying it, just like, but you also could just walk in and be like, I'm gonna eat wherever too. I mean, so we have elements of that, right? But it still was a patriarchy, but I think the less traditional families, you move away to that, to more like what Chris here was saying. I think it's more of a, maybe not matriarch, but yeah, overall is, I think, with what you're saying, patriarchy, we have old white, I mean, at the end of the day, it's old white guys sending young white guys or young guys to go die in a war somewhere else over so they can get rich. I mean, at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. That would be a patriarchy.
I wanted to touch on, to pivot the subject here, unless you guys wanted to,
I was just gonna say, like, community is so important, and I think we've drifted away from that, and COVID made it even worse. Well, that's what we're missing, yeah.
These
Put the
100%.
phone down. I love my phone. I love TikTok, but you gotta put it down and, you know, do other things.
Well,
create, talk to people. We're missing that.
experience the world, touch
Yep.
grass.
And it comes to like the whole, the male loneliness thing, right? If people would just put their phones down, and,
Yeah.
I'm not saying guys have book clubs, but guys do book
Right.
clubs, movie club,
Something.
video games in person,
Yeah.
like a LAN party,
What's
or sports or anything.
That,
Yeah.
that goes back to the way in which we're conditioned and programmed in
Right.
this country though. And that's where when I say that we as black people have been living the matriarchy, like what you described is what I grew up on. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I grew up on, and the reason why I feel like that is a gift and a curse
Oh,
is
agreed.
because
Yeah, agreed.
the one fact that we can't run from, the one thing that we have to be honest with is we are where we are, and we have to operate within its spaces.
Do we?
And look, you got a choice. You can
I don't
leave.
think we have to.
You can leave. It goes back to a old gangster term. It's get down and lay down. Like that's the choice. And when black men stood up to try to protect our community, we were eliminated.
To be so clear, I don't think
So-
anyone should be putting the
Right.
onus on black men.
No.
black women.
And
I think the situation we are in right now in our
Yeah.
society is 100%
Chris is just
to
speaking from his
blame on white
perspective.
supremacy and on patriarchy.
yeah,
I don't
And-
think that
go ahead.
nobody should be expecting black men to put their necks out and try to
No,
make
no,
positive
but
change.
here's the thing. Here's why I'm saying. Here's why I'm saying the things I'm saying is because we as black men have been conditioned through the things that we've seen to know. All right, I need to shut the fuck up. I gotta step back
They're
because
ahead of
I
us.
know that there's inherent danger there.
Yeah.
And the problem with the quote unquote matriarchal ideal is the fact that now we live in a community that doesn't have the level of protection that we need to really be as free and as successful as we could be.
Oh, agreed.
And now it's spilling over into all of American society. And the advancement in weaponry by the powers that be versus the citizens has gotten to a point now where like we can sit here and say we gonna stand up if they come knock on our door, but let's just be real. If they
Yes,
really
sir,
fucking
yes, sir.
feel like it, they don't gotta knock on your door. They
They
got
don't
shit
knock.
up there that you'll just go like this and then you dead. Drunk.
I was gonna
If you
say,
don't look at what they did to that dude in Venezuela.
I mean,
if
here's-
we look at history,
Mhm.
imperialistic countries always practice what they plan to do to their own people
Yeah.
on other
Well,
people.
yeah.
And that's why I said
Yeah.
lists, right? And
Yeah.
just think of this, and we really haven't even brought up Germany under Hitler, but I mean, basically, that's exactly what we're seeing the starts of. I hate to say it, but yeah, we might not have had the night of, broken glass. We haven't had that yet, but we've seen alienation, right? Us versus them.
Listen, we're only like less than a month into the year and we've
Yeah.
already kidnapped somebody's president.
Dude, we
And, like-
kidnapped a bunch of children in the first term. I mean, we keep forgetting about that. How many children did we kidnap?
Yep.
How many? I mean, there were other incidences. To Chris's point, it's more like he's already like him and the African American community have lived this game for so long, right? It's ingrained. We're all just like got the Nintendo. We're just like, how the fuck do we start this up? We're like so far behind on this. Everyone's like, yeah. And if you talk to, let's say, an old Jewish woman, like my mom would have been, or anyone her age time frame, they would have been like, yeah, this is exactly what Nazis did. And I mean, we're seeing this in other countries too.
And I'm gonna say something right now that, I mean, we've been here so long now that I'm starting to get to that I don't give a fuck point. So like, I just say shit. We're Germany. Like
Absolutely.
we've been
I-
Germany
yeah.
since we won that war.
Right.
Like, and that's why when I hear people
Yeah.
say what you just said, I just kind of like, I almost roll my eyes because it's like, as somebody who's a social studies and history nerd, go back and look. When we
Yeah.
beat them, we took all of their
Well,
top
I mean,
scientists.
Well,
We
wait-
took all of their
Oh, sorry.
propaganda methods. We took all of their ideals. I went
Remember,
Where
the
did
biggest
all that
summer
come
camps
from?
during the 30s in the U.S. were Nazi American summer camps until Japan decided to go to war with us. Hitler was trying to court us. He was trying to keep
Yeah.
us away, and that just was like,
That's
just,
why-
Those summer camps still exist. They're called Boys State. I was the governor of Boys State. I won the biggest title you can win at the camp. They sit you down for a week and they teach you about local, state, and federal government. They make you raise the flag every morning. You salute the flag. You sing the Star Spangled Banner. You are indoctrinated in Americanism. I'm trying to rush home to go watch the Bears game. What they gonna do before the game?
Oh.
Sing the national anthem. Why? That game has nothing to do with the country, its safety, or anything. But they make
Wait, what
sure
time's that
you're
game start?
They make sure you are propagandized to follow. I work at Northridge. We make these fucking kids
I
stand
know.
up every
Believe me.
morning
Right.
and pledge their allegiance to a piece of cloth in the corner.
And
A piece of cloth that don't give a fuck about them.
well,
We are Germany.
That represents.
So we can't sit here and act like the shit we seeing happen is one, unique, two, unexpected, three, strange. All of this shit is designed, it's supposed to happen the way it's happening because that's what they want. And that goes back to why I say the motherfucker's somewhat brilliant. Because he got everybody to follow along and do the shit that they say they don't want to do and they don't believe in. And I'm so American, don't tread on me. But he hit these sons of bitches with a 4D game of chess and is treading all over their goofy asses. And guess what? He's the fucking boss.
I would say it's his
They're licking
son-in-law.
that boot.
I mean,
They're licking
the
that
thing
boot.
about it is, I can't say it's the son-in-law because the thing
I'm just
about
saying,
it,
there's people that behind him.
you gotta start with where he. You gotta go back to the
The
beginning. How he got the motherfucker failed in every business he
He
dealt with,
bankrupted
but he always knew how.
a casino. How do you bankrupt a casino in the
He
90s?
always knew how to come out on the other side positively and well received and still respected. The people who don't like you, don't respect him, they hate his fucking guts. And they'll say they hate his guts, but they don't say it really loudly. They say it to their peers, they say it in their circles, but they won't come out and say it really loudly because the man knew how to play the game.
So, well, I wanna kind of bring us back on topic here.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
No, don't apologize,
Okay.
that's why you're here, I knew you. Just kidding.
You know I get mad at
Go ahead. Did you
Oh,
say-
no, I was just gonna go back to his comment about the flag, is that, and God forbid, if you do not stand up for the flag, if you decide to sit, I mean, I went to school with kids that were Jehovah's Witness, and you still had people that were bullying the shit out of them, because how dare you don't stand up for the flag?
That's, yeah, I get a lot of flack for not
Right.
standing now.
And then also, to go back to where you're saying it's the same thing that's been happening over and over again, it's a practice to see what we can do in other countries. To go back to the writer Margaret Atwood, The Handmaid's Tale is literally, people are like, oh, that's such fiction. It is not, and she has
None of it's
continually
fiction.
stated it is not goddamn fiction.
Mm-mm,
It
not
has,
anymore.
it may not have happened specifically to you or to your specific area, but it has happened at some point in time in history in the world.
Yes.
As a woman, we have only had the right to have just our name on a checking account in the last 40 years.
I was about to say the 70s.
Yeah, but 40, 50
barely-
maybe, and
yeah.
same, to own property. Now, were there women that owned property before that? Hell yes, there were. But it was not really allowed, and it was not seen as something that you
And
did.
they mostly got it through like.
Right, you got it
their
through marriage,
husband,
or
their
you got it
son,
through your
and-
father, or
Mhm.
whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, I make a joke sometimes with my dad and brother-in-law and say, hey, when they decide to follow the Handmaid's Tale, can y'all sign for a bank account for me so I can still have access to my funds?
Right.
And people think, oh, that's funny.
No.
I don't think it is, I think
No.
So I wanna, as I said, I kinda wanna bring us back,
Yeah.
but that does actually help kinda bring us back, because the thing that white, supremacy and that capitalism and the nuclear family values most is the womb.
Mhm.
The womb, not the woman,
Not the baby
not the
afterwards.
baby.
Oh,
right?
no,
The
100%,
womb,
yeah.
It's the womb, right?
Yeah.
So now that they have shot a womb, okay, they've
Well, but
taken
she wasn't a good womb because now she was married to a woman, so
But
therefore she
she
did
had-
have at one point in time she had
justify
3.
anything.
like if this
Yeah.
was Handmaid's Tale, they could have absolutely used her.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
Right?
because we
So
keep
she
it verified.
still has value from a capitalist standpoint. Even
Right.
if she doesn't want it, her body works and can make babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they've taken out a functional womb from the pool, right? Now that that's happened, like, I think what I'm trying to get at is where do we hit a line where
Mhm.
your average people who, we in this room are paying attention for the most part, right?
Mhm.
I think your average person isn't. What's it gonna take? If
Right.
he kills a white boy, if they kill a little white boy, a child, will that matter? If
Well,
they
apparently raping children on an island doesn't matter
as long
to
as it's on
start
an
with.
island,
Yeah.
yeah. Where's the line, do you think? I want to kind of close with that. I want to ask all of you, when you look around at society today and you see the kind of response or lack of response that's happening, what do you think is the line? What do you think is going to be the thing that happens that's going to finally make white people stand up and say, enough is enough? And when I say stand up and say enough is enough, I don't mean going to a quote protest where you're just standing on the sidewalk and that's more of like a rally, like what they're called today. It's a rally. You're just rallying support. I'm talking about a protest where you actually take a page from the French, where you actually stop the daily goings on of government. You make people uncomfortable, you inconvenience people so that something has to happen. What do you think it's going to take, or could the American people ever get to that point?
Well, per some random comment on Reddit, 15% unemployment. Because right now, I mean, I am single, I have no children, I do have an entire zoo of animals, but there are times I cannot step out and do things such as protest or try to do things because my job, which I have to show up for so I can get paid, and because my health insurance is tied to it.
That's
I have
right.
multiple medical conditions that I need my health insurance for.
Yeah.
And that was the comment that was been posed a few times is what will it take? And someone goes 15% unemployment, because how many Americans are literally a paycheck or two away from absolute destruction right now?
Many.
And
A lot.
once we get, and I don't want to get to that point, but when we get to a 15% unemployment or higher, people have nothing to lose at that point in time.
Right.
If you do not have an income coming in, you don't have your health insurance. We're watching that with the ACA subsidies right now. We're watching that with, I mean, and that the ACA subsidies affect everyone regardless whether or not they were part of a subsidy. Not gonna say who I work for, but let's just say I know health insurance premiums and I know what people are paying right now, and it's not pretty. And it doesn't matter if they had a subsidy or not, because everybody's price is skyrocketed. And when you have that, when you have absolutely nothing left to lose, and you watch people that have lost everything in their life, whether it is family, I mean, there have been times when I have just wanted to say, fuck it all, I'm done. Now, would I injure myself? No, that's not what I'm talking about, where I'm just like, nope, what else do I have? I got a motorhome, let's figure out what we can do with it. How much damage can we do with it? That type of thing. Now, I'm not saying, and people are gonna be like, oh, she's violent, I am employed, I should probably be quiet on this, but, I mean, it gets to the point that, and I'm scared that we're not gonna get to a point where people care. I mean, Mary Catherine said it, we have to give a shit about people. Well, she didn't say give a shit, but I'll say it. We have to give a shit about our fellow people. And it goes back to right now, we're all in a very large pot of water that has been heating up very, very slowly. And there are frogs that are, those being people, by the way, so we can use a euphemism. There are frogs that are not going to be able to escape that pot. They will never be able to escape that pot because that's what they're used to, that's comfortable. And I'll be honest, I can deal with a lot of uncomfortable things to continue my way of life.
That's
100% I can. But it scares me to think what's going to have to happen, because right now We have had someone, I have said before, I am a white woman, I have been told to use my privilege to protect those that cannot. And I just watched someone who is just like me get shot in her car, and the fucking president said it was her goddamn fault. And his people continued the same exact statement over and over again until the body cam footage. I still had people today that were asking me, well, you know, I heard that she, no, have you seen the body cam footage? Or not body cam footage, have you seen his cell phone footage? Have you seen her wife's footage, or whoever the person was that was there? Have you seen the eyewitness statements? Any of that? And they're like, well, no, but I heard that Trump said, yeah. And it goes back to, I hate to say we can't trust the government.
Never trust the government.
Right, well, yeah, I understand.
But that's what we're taught.
Right, well, and that's the thing. I mean, you look back at the same people who said during COVID, we can't trust the government, who, by the way, Trump was in office when we started COVID.
Yeah,
right.
That so we can't trust the government, but yet y'all trusted Trump and put ivermectin up your ass. That was okay, or Clorox bleach, or whatever, but we can't trust the
I
government.
didn't drink enough
That
of
we
it.
had chemtrails, and what are they doing to our water? What are they doing to this?
But now all of a sudden.
The
We trust
government
the
can be
government.
trusted again.
Right.
And I don't understand that disconnect.
Chemtrails are real.
Well, okay, yes, we'll discuss chemtrails later. But I'm just saying, the same people who wouldn't wear a goddamn mask and stay 6 feet back so grandma could be protected and not die, are now saying it's perfectly acceptable for a bunch of and mostly men. Like we said, there's not a
I
lot of
haven't
women.
seen any ICE women.
Right, exactly.
I bet they
Mostly
don't like
men.
them.
I think they're more in a bureaucratic situation. Because I think, from what I read, one of the person that's in charge of a lot of the deployments and things is a woman. Not saying Christine Owen, but there's other people that are in charge. That they're back behind the scenes running the show.
That's my
Because the
understanding.
bathrooms available.
Christine
Really
knows.
smart ones.
Exactly. Yeah, they're where the bathrooms are available. But now all of a sudden we're supposed to be okay with the fact that masked men are essentially going into our homes, going into our businesses, going into our lives, and that's acceptable. And I work like
but see, they didn't go into her life. She cut them off in
They're also-
traffic.
she was on a goddamn public street. That is a public street. You should have the ability to drive down the street.
And if they're doing an operation, they should have blocked that area
Exactly.
with law enforcement.
Exactly.
Actual law
If you are
enforcement.
doing actual law enforcement, if you are going door to door because you have been told that there is the next major drug dealer, cartel, whatever, and that's what you're going after, because let's be honest, they're not going after that.
Of
They're
course
going
not.
after
The Somali
kids.
doctor.
They're going
Kid.
after your Mexican restaurant owner. They're going after those type of people because they're easy to pick off because they're not going to fight back.
And they've always done that with.
I'd like to point out that I have spoken with Chief Yates on this topic previously, not since this happened, but some months ago, and asked him directly, like, it was when Trump first deployed the National Guard. I reached out and I asked him for a comment, like, what happens if ICE shows up in Danville? And he said something along the lines of that the Danville Police Department obeys the law, they enforce the law, and Illinois state law prevents them from helping ICE in any way. And so they're gonna follow the law, and that's it. Bada bing, bada bing, bada boom.
Well, a couple things though. As far as the line goes, I don't think there is one anymore. Americans just inherently, we are not revolutionary. We are not. As much as our propaganda says we are, we have never pulled the guillotine out on our ruling class. No, I mean, we haven't. And the French came after us, said, hey, we're gonna take this American thing they called a revolution. No, it was just a bunch of other white guys who were pissed they couldn't be in parliament is what our revolution was.
Yes.
The angry white guys.
I need everyone in this room to read a Indigenous people's history of the United States.
Okay.
I used to be one of those people who was like I used to watch Turn, Washington Spies. I read a lot of American, the Revolutionary War in America was my favorite history to study because I was like, those fucking baddies, you know what I mean? And then now that I learn more about it from the perspective of Indigenous people, I'm like, geez.
Well, just
It
look at how
wasn't
Canada
about
formed.
liberty, egalitarian.
But also look at our
wasn't
sister
about any of that.
sister country, like really Australia and Canada and New Zealand. I mean, so they're basically the same type of countries.
Yeah,
And they
they're
formed
all
differently.
colonies.
Right, they're colonies. I mean, everything's that ultimately was a colony of another place. We still are. Yes, we are. Except we need a new king. I'd rather or a queen. Maybe we should try that. There's all
So
around.
you think there is no line?
I don't think there is a line. I think we're passive. I think once we get that 15%, you know what? We'll have, like, we did this, remember during, the Great Depression, what did they do? They made jobs up to keep us from revolting. That's what I'm saying. So we will have the, you know, the civil corporation, what was it? Civil service. Remember when they would like hire people to make parks, sign? Yeah, look at
It
it.
was during Roosevelt's time.
Roosevelt.
So, yeah.
So Roosevelt knew all this, and this is one of the things that, oddly enough, the Republicans were really against. No, the Democrats, everybody, really, the rich people were against Roosevelt. Sorry.
No, you
I know the Bears,
I'm just
right?
kidding, Ryan.
Because my boss lives in Green Bay, so we got, yeah, exactly. So Roosevelt saw all this, right, with the revolution potential, and prevented it by, we're going to make up jobs. We'll, you know, granted, we also saw a war coming on, and we also even were kind of doing a little bit of a war on the side. We didn't call it that. We were sending stuff to, you know, to England and to China. So we were, yeah, and to Russia. Once Russia kind of went against Germany, or the Soviets did that.
I don't wanna cut you off.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
wanna make sure everybody has a chance. So you think there is no line? That people are just gonna, even as it all burns to the ground, people are just gonna stay?
They're going to be given their bread and their circuses to enjoy. They're going to go to their Bears games on TV, drink their beer, and shut the fuck up.
Hate to say it.
Because that's what we've always
What do you
done.
think,
I'm
Chris?
gonna
What's the line?
I'm gonna try to make it quick, but I'm gonna take the long road. 15%, that is the type of mind state we gotta go in, because America at its core is a capitalistic society. And if you wanna talk about capitalism, you gotta go look at what he just did in Venezuela and really dig into why he did that.
Yep.
He did that because of BRICS.
We
And
need
people
oil.
don't talk about BRICS.
Yep.
BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And now it's up to 12 nations. And those nations all deal in a currency that's backed by gold. We no longer, our currency is not backed by the gold standard, hasn't been for a while. And if you look at the countries we've invaded in the last 30 years, though, we invaded them because they tried to kind of overthrow us and our power with the petrodollar. Libya, that's why we went and got Gaddafi. Gaddafi wanted to do a gold-backed currency. Hussein, we went and got him because he wanted to trade oil in his own type of currency. Venezuela has the largest supply of oil, but it's not the best quality of oil, but it's still the largest reserves. China and Russia were trying to basically deal in that oil and do it in their own currency. So when he goes over to China in a couple of months, I believe he's got a meeting over in China in April. And once he goes to do that, that will show a lot of where we go forward as a country. Now, the line in which we stand up, Mary Catherine hit the nail on the head. We don't have humanity anymore.
No.
So we can't say it's going to take a white woman or a white child or anybody to die, because we've been so desensitized to death through video games, through movies, through trauma porn, that death isn't what's going to be able to push us over that line. It's going to have to be something capitalistic. It's going to have to be the money. And if you look at it, the only thing that's getting cheaper right now is gas.
Yep.
Everything else is more expensive, but gas is getting cheaper. You know what I'm saying?
That is our brand.
And that exactly, because that oil is where our dollar is propped up. The American dollar is propped up by the petrodollar, and the way in which oil is traded throughout this world. And the moment that gets unstable, that's when you'll see this country get
Well,
unstable.
we saw that in the 70s.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And
Yeah.
as far as what you're talking and what he's talking, as far as pulling out the guillotines and really having real protest, I have to go back to my own, you know what I'm saying, learning and experience, and I have to bring it back to being a black man. The thing that I just said about why you don't see black men stand up, get ready, white folks, because y'all about to see some of, look at Charlie Kirk. He was the first one. You don't gotta think he was a leader, but at the end of the day, there was a generation of young white men who looked to him for guidance and leadership. And what did they do? Shot that motherfucker in the neck in front of the world, and then started tearing down the crime scene inside of an hour. Tore it down so much that they ripped up all of the concrete and built over it, and have already, you ain't know that?
Oh yeah.
They have
100%.
already completely demolished and reconstructed the area they killed Charlie on.
It's like Hitler's bunker.
All of
type
that,
thing.
yeah.
Yep.
All of that has already been disposed of, destroyed, and his
Yep.
wife is out here
Yep.
doing WWE promos.
You'll never see videos of where he was defeated as far as during his speeches.
Yeah,
His
no,
Oxford
all of that
and
stuff
other-
been washed.
Yeah, you will not find those.
Yep.
But again, talking about, I'll say propaganda,
Yeah.
if you watch, and this actually was from my therapist, who said that she saw a video of him talking about God, and she was like, damn, this is really good, and then she's like, I'm gonna watch more. And she started watching more, and she was like, and goes back to critical thinking, like you said, and she goes, he's, okay, he introduces an inflammatory topic, he backs off, then he backs it in, and
Hitler was a good speaker.
it's the speaker thing.
It's a rough wooing.
Yeah. So no, but I understand where you're coming from.
And I mean, and I don't give a damn. I'm gonna say it. Look at the way that they doing Charlie right now, and think about Dr. King, and think about the messages that they'll allow from Dr. King to come out. They won't show
Only the
you.
whitewashed
They
ones.
won't show you the speeches where Dr. King said, "I fear that I have integrated us into a burning house." They won't show you that Dr. King was starting to really realize, like, wait a minute, yeah, I need to fight against all of this evil, but integration wasn't the hill to die on. When did he get killed? He got killed in Memphis. Why was he in Memphis? A workers' strike. He was trying to get poor white people to wake up and see, hey, y'all, it ain't even about all this race shit. It's about the money, and y'all ain't getting none of this money. And what they do to him? Shot his ass in the head on a balcony, and immediately said, and at the time when they did it, he was one of the 10 most hated men in the country. But inside of 20 years, he had, we love Dr. King. And we'll give him a holiday, and we'll give him a monument, we'll give him a statue. Why? Because Dr. King ain't here to own his own words.
That's right.
Just like Charlie ain't here to own his own words. And now if I own your words, I get to determine what your legacy is. And if I can determine what your legacy is, I can determine how I sell it, how I package it, who I give it to, who I convince with it, who I use it for propaganda with. Charlie and MLK had completely different messages. They was two completely different people. MLK was a great man. Charlie Kirk was just a white dude who found a way to use his voice to get those same white dudes that I've been talking about all day to follow him. But guess what? He had a message, he had a movement, and he had a group of people who said, God damn it, I believe in him and I'm gonna listen. And the moment the people who was funding him said, wait a minute, bruh, you going off script. Stick to the script. And he said, nah, man, I ain't gotta stick to the script. Fuck you, I'm Charlie Kirk. Dead. Dr. King, same thing. Same thing. Two different people.
Do you think that...
But the same ending and the same stealing and repackaging of legacy.
Parallel.
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo.
And I think you were saying at the beginning, basically, that in your mind, the line is not how,
The line has nothing to do with humanity.
Terrible.
The line has to do with money
Economics,
and struggle. Because white people don't like struggle.
Anything at all.
They
avoid
don't.
Struggle.
And the moment the struggle gets too hard, then you'll see, you might see something. But my fear is, before you see that, you'll see so many leaders and others lose their life, lose their well-being, and become outcasts that nobody will ever really stand up. And that's the only thing about cancel culture, that's the one big negative that came out of the whole Me Too and the cancel culture, is the fact that we can cancel people and people will buy it and say, okay, that's a bad person, I don't have to listen to that person or anything that person stands for. And the reason I say that is, we live in an AI world, so we don't even know what's real. We don't even know if they really said that. But we'll be able to find a way to use it to say, he said that, y'all can't listen to him, he's a bad person, cancel. When maybe, just maybe, that person was trying to lead you to where you needed to be.
So in an AI world like what you're describing, I mean...
Black Mirror. Black Mirror.
Black Mirror, the show.
Oh, Black
Yeah,
Mirror.
yeah,
Sorry, I
yeah.
misunderstood what you were saying. So in that case, I mean, that really, that's a really good topic that I have to pen to the side for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna hear your thoughts, Tony. What do you think is the line that is gonna finally make the average American, white people stand up and say, hey, enough is enough, we're not gonna tolerate this anymore?
I think if more happens to people who look like Renee Good, that more and more people are gonna get to that line. But I don't think that line, whoever said it was based on humanity, I think that's the most important thing. And then additionally is when someone gets to that line, how we, on the other side of that line, receive them, I think really matters. Because that person, when they get to that line, they're gonna be saying to themselves, I fucked up. In some capacity, some way, some form, they're gonna say, I fucked up. I believed in something, it turned out to be wrong. I don't think it's a moment where you punch down on them and say, I told you so. I don't think it's a moment where we go into like the three of you guys all have very different perspectives on where that line is. I think you gotta have a simpler perspective where it's, whenever they cross that line, you gotta just hold their hand like they're a child. Because it's a hard enough step, but like, in terms of where that line is, I think it's gonna be different for every single person, and it's gonna be based on what, like for me, I can see a lot of friends and family in that spot Renee Good was in, very easily. Like, that, so.
Just trying to do the thing they can do. Cause
Yeah.
I wanna, sorry, not to interrupt you, but I just wanna say something really quick. I didn't mean to make it seem like people who like attend rallies and things like that don't care, or that their work doesn't matter. Of course it matters,
Yeah.
everything matters. The work, a very wise man once said that, while some people buy bullets, I buy ink, I buy microphones, I buy cameras, I buy, we all have our part in the revolution, I think, and I think that, I don't mean to denigrate anything anyone's doing. I think my point was really just that American people who hate being uncomfortable are so desperately terrified of like upsetting the system and like being impolite that they're just like, yeah, we'll call it a protest and we're just gonna stand here and hold our signs.
Can I say something though?
Yeah.
Okay, I knew people that voted for him the first time around, and they regretted it.
Yes.
Second time around, they didn't vote for him.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, the people who voted for him the second time around had 4 years in between to fester, or whatever it is. They made a conscious choice to choose evil.
Yeah.
I mean, the line has already been crossed. That's the thing. It's, to his point, it's the personal line is what people are. But there's a lot of people that have already said this is wrong and already did vote. But then, that's all I was going to say is people have re-vote. I mean, he got reelected, right? Even with the year in between Biden and all that. That's the scary part, right? That he got reelected and people fully knew what they had. Project 2025. I mean, this is by script.
Yeah.
This is better script than like a computer program.
Yes, actually, I recently discovered Project 2025 Tracker. There's a website
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
says that 50% of all of the objectives
Yes.
in Project
They've been
2025 have already been met. 50% of them have already been met.
It was at like
But he
30+% after the first 100 days.
But he said it wasn't gonna be Project 2025 until he got elected, and then he's like, yep, that was the script.
And,
There you go.
and see, for me, I'm sorry, I'm gonna just, and I'll be real quick with this. I feel like the line ain't I think we all have different ideas of what the line is. And for me, the line is, when are people willing to die for something?
Yes.
And I know that's very dystopian to say, that's very like, oh my God, what? But
I think we're living in a
the line, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, when do you have something that you're truly willing to put your life on the line for?
I mean, I'm
You
thinking
know?
of Aaron Bushnell,
Well, I mean,
who self-immolated because he said, I am not going to participate in genocide. And you brought that up earlier, the Israel Palestine thing. And people have accused those of us, for example, I did not vote in that election on purpose, not out of spite. More like, I have a line, and the line is fucking genocide. Like, now that you're willing, because at the time, Harris and still now had no platform. Her platform was, she didn't separate herself from Biden at all. All she had to do was call out what Israel was doing as genocide, and she would have had the vote of everyone. Because all we wanted, that's how fucking low the bar was. We just wanted someone to come along and say, just a second.
Yeah.
All of the ways you have to bypass human empathy in order to support genocide, that to me, it's not a one issue vote, that's a every issue, because it's all interconnected. So, I think that's, again,
I think you were in a
nuance.
state that was safe enough to do that. You weren't in a state that was we're not in a state that was, a battleground state. You could do that. But, I mean, did anyone really think Trump wasn't gonna, jump on board the genocide wagon either? I mean, that's kind of, my understanding was, and I hate to say the lesser of two evils,
Yeah, that's exactly
but the
what I
problem
wanted
is
to
when you
respond
do
to.
that, when you vote for the lesser of two evils, you're actually voting for the evil. That's the
That's
thing.
exactly why I didn't vote, because I won't.
But you're gonna still, even by abstaining, right? It's like someone who remains silent during an assault of any sort, right? You're just
But we weren't-
bystander, like you're a
We
bystander.
weren't remaining silent.
No, but
In
you
the
are.
middle of all
The
that-
point is the vote is the voice that counts,
That's
not the
exactly
protest.
why I'm saying
But when
I'm
you-
a
when-
leftist and not a liberal.
But what
I
I'm saying,
understand that the vote is not what matters.
but okay, again, you're not in a battleground state, so you
Even
could
if
do
I
this.
were,
But
that's my
well,
perspective.
but and you're welcome to have a vote. You could vote for Trump for all I care. You could vote for Jill Stein. What I'm getting at is, it's when you sit there passively, because
There's nothing passive
yes,
about
it is. If you don't vote,
I
you're.
disagree.
So here's the thing: silence
It's
equals,
not silence.
but it is.
No, because all the stuff we were doing on top of not voting.
So the
If
problem
you
here
just
is,
sit at
right?
home and say, you know what, I'm gonna put
I think
corks in my ears and lock myself in my space and be
Well,
safe and quiet.
I'm gonna read the room and be like, I think everyone's a little uncomfortable.
No,
and we've
I was
been here,
gonna
like,
say
a little
is-
longer than I thought.
I think-
I gotta pee so
Same
bad.
here.
So not to like, hang on, just a second, let me
I'm
start
sorry.
saying, you can go back
I'm
there.
sorry.
I appreciate you guys letting me be here, everyone at home, thank
Yes,
you guys so
I
much.
apologize.
I'm like, man, I need to get to a bathroom, and then,
Understood.
let's go Bears.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Right.
Word.
But no.
If you go
And Carly
just
did
right
that.
around here, there's
Wait,
a bathroom right
Carly
there.
hasn't got a chance to speak.
All I wanted
Yeah.
to say.
Let's hear your
I
wrap up.
apologize.
Your Carly's
Okay.
last words. Go ahead.
No. We all just need to listen to each other more, I think. We've lost, we don't care about each other at all. And yeah, I don't know. I really did lose my God.
What do you think the line is that is gonna make your average person stand up and say enough?
Okay, so I saw a couple creators that I follow talk about criticizing people for just now caring about things that are going on because a white woman was killed. Stop judging people. I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry it took you this long to get here,
Right.
but I'm glad you're here. Let's go.
Better
Yeah.
late than never.
It-
To
yeah.
this point, it's better
quit
late than
picking
never.
every single thing apart. We're come together, gosh, and then we can address that shit later.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here now. Cool,
Yeah.
let's go. That's it. I don't know.
Drew, final thoughts?
Sure, I have many, but I'll keep it brief. I will just quote one of my favorite bands, Rage Against the Machine, and they say, "Hungry people don't stay hungry for long," and I think we're close.
Boy.
Are you saying eat the rich?
I'm just saying that when people are 15% unemployed, when groceries are expensive, when they cannot pay for health care, when their kids are sick, all that sort of stuff, they won't sit on the couch anymore. Then they will come off the couch. And honestly, I think that the petrodollar and the oil and all that's a signal. The price of the price of gas getting cheap isn't good.
At all.
Because
At all.
it's economic
It's worrisome.
demand that's cratering. That's why it's getting cheap.
Mhm.
So it's hard to really call the market and when the bottom's going to fall. That's going to happen. And we got to look back to 2008. When the bottom fell out, the Tea Party happened, and we're here because of that. Okay. And then the black guy got elected, and that really irked some people. But there's a real anger there that average people are being left behind, and some people are exclusionary about who they include and who those people are. But I do think that we're getting pretty close to when people are gonna not take it anymore, and this is just one more thing.
Yeah. I hope you're right, Drew. My experience in studying history and in being a writer and so on tells me that people do hit a wall. They do hit a wall, and I think it is personal. I think it might not necessarily be a shared wall. I think we all have a wall. My wall was genocide, right? Some people have a wall past that, right? We all do have a wall though, and so I think conversations like this are so important, because look at how much we agreed on and still we have different viewpoints, you know what I mean? So I want to thank each and every one of you for participating. It went longer than we thought it was going to go, and that's okay. We want to do things like this, you know, every quarter or so. We want to get people together, new people at the table, new perspectives. So thank you for answering the call, as it were. Again, we are the Vermilion Times. We are here as a nonprofit, independent media company. We're not owned by a conglomerate. We don't get paid for what we do, except for your donations. Thanks so much. And even then, we just reinvested into the system. We are going to be applying for grants and stuff like that soon. Ultimately, we're here to inform and empower. We have elections coming up, and as much as I talked about not voting, local elections fucking matter. Everything about your life really is determined by local elections. There's going to be a primary election in March, and then there's going to be the midterm elections in November. We're going to be featuring we sent some questions to some people, some candidates that are running for contested office, and those answers are coming in. If you are watching and you're one of those people, send your answers back in. We're going to be getting those out so people have a better idea of who the options are for them in the local election. So thank you again for tuning in. We're here.
You want to plug our civics series? Or
absolutely, yeah. So soon we are starting season 2 of Get With The Times, which is our podcast, where we have slightly fewer people usually, but we bring people on and talk about different things that are happening in the community. So what we have coming up is a Civics 101 podcast that we are going to launch here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about civics, which really is just a fancy word meaning engaging in the political, field, if you
politics
will.
And government.
Politics and government.
How it works.
And how it works in a system where it, is, fingers crossed, still operating somewhat. We're going to talk about why that matters, why local elections matter a lot. We're going to talk about all the different candidates, all the different offices that are going to be filled and why they matter and what they do to keep the engine running. We're going to talk about personal responsibility versus collective responsibility. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff. So definitely stay tuned for what we've got. This is going to be, I was going to say an interesting year, and then I thought of that. What's that famous blessing? May you live in unprecedented times.
Curse too.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We are the Vermilion Times. You can check us out on Facebook or Instagram at the Vermilion Times. Visit our website, vermiliontimes.com. And if you have a story, if you have an opinion, if you want to join us for a roundtable discussion, please reach out. We do not want this to only be me and Drew sharing our opinions or sharing our insights or writing stories. We want you on the team as well. Any opinion is welcome. If you would like to submit an opinion piece to be shared on the website, the only thing we're going to do is edit it for grammar and accuracy. That's it. You can say whatever you like. So please do reach out. We are so glad to have you here. And yeah, until next time. Thanks, guys.
I'm gonna write it.